So when the voice of this martial artist came out, he suddenly attracted the attention of the whole hall. The elder Xia who was speaking looked ugly, and the disciple beside him immediately reprimanded, "What's so noisy? Do you not understand the rules?" The martial artist who screamed also had astonishment on his face, but his expression was mostly feeling weird. From time to time, he glanced at Feng Lianying, not far away, with a colorful expression on his face. When Elder Xia's disciple saw that he was not talking, his face immediately turned dark. He walked down and shouted, "What did you just watch? Hand it out." This man dared to be so disrespectful to their Qixing palace. He must not be spared. The martial artist shuddered, and then held back his fear and surprise as he handed out the item. As he handed it in, he whispered, I really don't know. I just received a message from a friend saying that there are good things on the black market, and I must watch. I really don't know it will be this. I didn't intend to interfere with Elder Xia's speech. Please forgive me, Senior. Elder Xia's disciple frowned and took over the inscribed jade slip in his hand. This inscribed jade slip looked unique, but most of the people in the Miluo continent should know it. This was the inscribed jade slip that allowed martial artists to enter the black market virtual space. It was also the identity of martial artists. The purchase and operation of the same inscribed jade slip could only be completed by a single martial artist, but if someone wanted to watch the purchased item, it could share it with others. It could even project the video and play it directly. That Elder Xia's disciple belonged to the elite of the martial arts, but things like black market were generally only visited by some lone martial artists or the sect disciple of the lower rank. So after getting the inscribed jade slip, he injected his spiritual power before trying to understand the operating principle at all. The inscribed jade slip was instantly activated when spiritual power was injected. Immediately afterward, a huge screen was projected in the center of the hall. Two intertwined figures soon appeared on the screen. They rolled in the grass without any clothes on them. The woman's hair was loose. Her hands and feet were tightly wrapped around the man, and she was hugging his neck with an unbearable longing. And the man was slapping the woman while posing the woman in various promiscuous and slutty poses. The most incredible thing was that besides the pair of entangled woman and man, there were still a few ugly men whose clothes were untied, clinging, biting, and rubbing the woman constantly. But instead of feeling ashamed, the woman showed a very excited and enthusiastic expression. She even occasionally hugged the men's ugly heads and pressed them in her chest. Everyone knew these ugly men. But this man and woman, everyone recognized them as soon as possible. Feng Lianying, the Miss of Feng family and the young master of Luli sect. Nie Jinchen, Luli sect's senior fellow apprentice. These two, who were neatly dressed and looked glamorous on the surface, actually did such dirty act in breaking Spirit Mountain. In particular, Feng Lianying, who usually looked pure and holy and couldn't tolerate others' humiliation and trample, was actually so hot and lustful in private. Many male martial artists were even excited to see this scene. There was a weird silence in the hall. Even needle drops could be heard. Elder Xia's disciple's hand was loose, and the inscribed jade slip fell to the ground. The image in the hall disappeared without a trace. That disciple looked at the crowd, at Master, and at the Feng family's people whose face was stagnant, and he stuttered, I don't know. I really don't know, please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/the King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. He really didn't know that after the inscribed jade slip was activated, it would play such a shameful harem scene. Ah! Feng Lianying suddenly woke up and uttered a scream that sounded like it was going to tear her throat. Then blood dripped from the corner of her mouth. The pair of resentful hatreds, staring at Heshi like a banshee. She kept mumbling, Slut, it's you. It must be you who framed me. Slut, I won't let you go. Her voice suddenly increased, then it seemed to be stuck in his throat. Feng Lianying's eyes turned white, and she fainted on the ground as she could no longer bear it. The face of the Feng family could no longer be described with ugliness. Coupled with the absence of Feng Yunjing, they were flustered. They only felt that everyone looked at them as if they were laughing at and mocking them. The miss of the dignified Feng family turned out to be having wild sex in big hunting match. Never mind if she was having wild sex, but it was not with a man, but 7 or 8 men. How could such a shameless act not be laughed at? However, when did their Feng family ever suffer such humiliation? How could the Feng family apprentices endure such ridicule? The middle-aged man who had the highest cultivation suddenly raised his hand and slapped Nie Jinchen ruthlessly. He said harshly, "Why are you guys still standing there? Quickly carry him and leave. Do you still want to stay here to embarrass yourself?" "Yes." Nie Jinchen covered his face and lowered his eyes, making people unable to see his expression. The middle-aged man resentfully said, "Wait until I settle the score with you. Look at the good things you have done. Let's see how you explain to your master when we are back." After speaking, he swung his sleeve angrily and left without bothering Nie Jinchen. When the other disciples of the Feng family saw the master's senior left, how could they have the face to stay after feeling the ridiculed eyes of everyone? They carried Feng Lianying and left dejectedly. After the Feng family had left, a loud burst of laughter broke out in the hall. This time the Feng family really made a huge loss in the big hunting match. They were so shameful, ha ha ha. On the stage, Elder Xia gripped his fist and put it near his lips, then he made a cough. He held back his smile and said, "Everyone please be quiet. Don't worry about the insignificant things. Now we start to count the results of big hunting match." After hearing the words of Elder Xia, the martial artists in the hall stopped the noise and looked up at the stage with anticipation. Over the past month, they had lived in the wild and wrestled with magical beasts just to get good results. Today was the time to reveal their results. One by one, the martial artists handed in their monster essence pills in the storage utensils. Some were a dozen and some were hundreds. The disciples of the 4 major sects responsible for reviewing the achievements of these martial artists projected them on the inscribed jade slip so that everyone could see them. Shui Yu sect, Ji Xingho, Meridian stage, turned in 87 pieces of rank 4 magical beast monster essence pills. Qingxia sect, Shi Feiyu, Gold Core stage, turned in 35 pieces of rank 5 magical beast monster essence pill. Qixing Palace, Xia Yichen, Meridian stage, turned in 122 pieces of rank 4 magical beast monster essence pill. As the achievements of the martial artists were projected, the whole hall was in turmoil. Among the Meridian stage martial artists who have turned in the monster essence pill today, the monster essence pill obtained by Xia Yichen was far ahead. This made the people at Qixing Palace extremely happy. Even Elder Xia, who had always been serious, could not help but caressing his beard, showing a smile of relief. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Suddenly, a young man in Shui Yu sect costume snorted coldly, strode forward, and threw the storage in his hand on the table. He sneered, he just collected some rank 4 magical beast monster essence pills, and he thought he is so pro. Qixing Palace is just so. The people at Qixing Palace suddenly felt ugly when they heard the words, and Xia Yichen couldn't hold back as he said furiously. Han Feiyu, what do you mean by that? Can you collect more monster essence pill than me? Shui Yu sect disciple, who was called Han Feiyu, gave a scornful smile. He injected spiritual power into the storage ring and dozens of monster essence pills appeared in front of everyone. In fact, according to the number, these dozens of monster essence pills certainly wouldn't exceed Xia Yichen's 100+ monster essence pills. However, when everyone saw that one of the monster essence pills, some of them were exuding a thick monster beast's power. They couldn't help but exclaim, rank 5 magical beast monster essence pill. Although this Han Feiyu was the grandson of Elder Han of Shui Yu sect, he still had some reputations. However, he was only at the Meridian stage after all. A Marialian stage martial artist actually entered the rank 5 magical beast area and captured 8 monster essence pill of the rank 5 magical beast. If he did it himself, it would be amazing. Hearing the praises of everyone around, Han Feiyu raised his chin high, looked down at Xia Yichen and sneered, "Xia Yichen, do you know the difference between the strength of rank 4 magical beast and rank 5 magical beast? I have 8 rank 5 magical beasts monster essence pills here. Even your 100 rank 4 magical beasts monster essence pills can't compete with it. Hehe, Qixing Palace, they are just some insignificant sect." Xia Yichen's face was gloomy, but he couldn't say a word. No matter what method Han Feiyu used to get the rank 5 magical beasts monster essence pills, he lost completely in big hunting match. In particular, he lost the face of Qixing Palace. Elder Xia's face also looked gloomy and ugly. On the contrary, Elder Han of Shui Yu sect smiled. He shook his head casually, "This brat is still young and vigorous. He just likes to be competitive. Elder Xia, please don't feel offended. In fact, your Sexy Chen is pretty good. He can hunt more than 100 rank 4 magical beasts monster essence pills. He was just a bit timid, he didn't dare go to the rank 5 magical beast area. Unlike our Sex Feiyu, he is just a dumb person, but he could hunt 8 rank 5 magical beasts monster essence pills. This result is still okay." There was a twitch at Elder Xia's mouth, but he forced a smile. The disciple of Shui Yu sect below was even more proud and arrogant than the people of Qixing Palace and Qingxie sect. Especially when the following martial artists who submitted monster essence pills couldn't hunt the magical beast of higher rank, this made Han Feiyu even more arrogant. He suddenly walked to Shen Qingchua's side and chuckled, "Sister Chui'er, no wonder you used to hate Xia Yichen pestering around you like a fly. He is just a good-looking idiot who doesn't have any strength. How can Sister Chui'er be fond of him? I don't know what Sister Chui'er thinks of me. My grandfather said that I can break through the gold core stage in just a few years. By that time, you can marry me to be my dual cultivation partner. Who wants to be your dual cultivation partner?" Shen Qingchua glanced fiercely at Han Feiyu. "I don't like Xia Yichen, but I hate you 100 times more than Xia Yichen. Don't think I don't know that every year you will rob a bunch of girls with spiritual roots to serve as your furnace. Such a shameless person like you, I even feel disgusted when I see you. Please go to https://www.novelupdates. cc/the King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free." Han Feiyu's face suddenly darkened. His low and gentle voice that he pretended suddenly became cold, "Shen Qingchua, I'm giving face to you to marry you as my dual cultivation partner. If it were because your Qingxie sect's ancestors can be served as a backer, do you think I will be fond of you?" Before Han Feiyu finished speaking, a shadow suddenly slammed into his face. Han Feiyu was caught off guard and was hit by the thing on the ground, making a huge moan. This movement immediately caught everyone's attention. A little black dragon flying up from Han Feiyu's face, flapping his wings a few times, and he laughed, "Hey, don't you know not to block others' way? I want to submit monster essence pills for my boss. Why are you standing there blocking my way?" Before Han Feiyu made a speech, the little dragon had fluttered to the front of the main hall. It raised its head and shouted loudly, "Shiyu, Foundation Establishment Stage, come to submit monster essence pill." When the name Shiyu came out, it immediately caught everyone's attention in the hall. This name was quite popular for this period. Whether it was the rumor about his amazing medical skills, the best medical pills sold by Xingde Church, or the wonderful conflict and overturn between him and the Feng family, it was impressive. Now everyone heard that he was turning in monster essence pill, everyone's eyes gathered on him. Among the crowd of Qingxie sect, a boy with a handsome face walked out slowly. The light in the hall seemed to gather on him for an instant, and a halo was painted on his body which made him look gorgeous. Everyone was stunned for a while until the boy came to the stage and took out all the monster essence pills from the storage ring. 66 rank 4 magical beasts monster essence pills and 10 rank 5 magical beasts monster essence pills. The onlookers couldn't help rubbing their eyes again and again. Even Shin-sun, who had always looked up at Shiyu, couldn't help showing a shocked expression. The boy in front is just the foundation establishment stage. Did we see it right? However, none of the monster essence pills he took out were of the rank 3 magical beast. All of them were 4th order, and there were even 10 rank 5, which was 2 more than Han Feiyu. There was silence in the hall. Everyone looked at Heshi like they were looking at a monster. Shin-sun regained conscious soon as possible. He said with a low voice, "Did you hunt these monster essence pills yourself?" Heshi looked indifferent. She said with a clear voice, "I hunted some by myself, and some were gifted by others." After speaking, she seemed to suddenly think of something. She turned to look at Xia Yichen. Her voice was cold, but it was pleasant to listen to. "Right, thank you for giving me monster essence pills." As soon as the words came out, the whole audience made an uproar. The eyes of everyone looking at Xia Yichen changed, and then they suddenly realized it. It turned out that the people of the Qixing Palace even gave their monster essence pills to Shiyu. Perhaps it was to win over the miracle healer Shi. No wonder the pills Xia Yichen hunted were not as many as Han Feiyu. Xia Yichen widened his mouth. He couldn't respond to what happened for a long while. He stuttered, "I didn't. I just gave you a few," but Heshi didn't care what he said anymore. She handed the monster essence pills to Shin-sun instead. Shin-sun glanced at her meaningfully. This glance was not just appreciation, but also amazed. This time it was Elder Xia's turn to smile at Elder Han of Shui Yu sect. "Haze, my sexy Chen, is so honest. He is always thinking about others first, he doesn't want to take credit at all." Please go to https://www.novelupdates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Your family's Feiyu is really different. This little brat's temper really can't be helped, even I can't control him. But fortunately, he has a good social network. Elder Han, don't you think so? Elder Han's face was sullen. He waved his sleeves without saying anything. Han Feiyu, who had just been knocked by the little magic dragon to the ground, looked extremely gloomy. He wanted to vent his anger, but looking at the cold and unsightly eyes of everyone on Qingxia sect, he immediately turned away dejectedly. Just now when Han Feiyu was talking badly against Shin Qingchua, the most favorite person of the Qingxia sect, he already almost made Qingxia sect's people get rage, but Heshi was just a step faster than them. Now that he still wanted to show off their power in front of the Qingxia sect. Did he really think that the title as the 4 major sects was just a useless title? Han Feiyu gave Heshi a ruthless gaze before leaving. His eyes were full of resentment and coldness. The statistics of the big hunting match results were completed, and Heshi won the first prize of the Foundation Establishment Stage Martial Artists without a doubt. She got the 4th rank fire technique as she wished. In fact, the magical beast monster essence pills obtained by Heshi in Breaking Spirit Mountain was far more than these few dozens. Even only the rank 5 magical beast monster essence pill plus those given by Ouyang Haoshuan were more than 50. But the effect of monster essence pill was so great that she couldn't bear to give it all out. She kept the rest for the few brats as a snack. Heshi took the fire technique and looked around, but she was surprised to find that Ouyang Haoshuan was disappeared to nowhere. It seemed that before she handed over the monster essence pills, Ouyang Haoshuan had received some kind of news, and then he left with an ugly face. Heshi fell into deep thought, then Shin Qingchua's voice suddenly came in her ears. "Young Master Shi, you are so amazing, you can actually win the first place of big hunting match." Heshi smiled and said nothing. At this time, Shin-sun, who completed the duties as the elder, also slowly walked up and said toward Heshi, "Shiyu, would you like to come to our Qingxia sect? As long as you say a word, I can let any of the elders of Qingxia sect or even Chua Er's grandfather, Qingxia sect's ancestors to accept you as a personal disciple." After a pause, he said again, "This time Feng family lost face in big hunting match, Shiyu you will surely become a thorn in their eyes." Feng family is powerful, they may not dare to harm you during the big hunting match, but if you leave Breaking Spirit Mountain, you may be in danger. But as long as you come to our Qingxie sect, I guarantee that the people of Feng family will never dare to make trouble. When Shen Qingxue heard Shen Sen's words, she immediately smiled and said along, young Master Shi, uncle is right. Come to our Qingxie sect, so that we can play together all day. Let me tell you, the Yunxie mountain where our Qingxie sect is located is beautiful, and the spirit is rich. It is very suitable for cultivation. Then, I will let Grandpa make a cave house for you alone, then I will find you every day to play, isn't it good? Before Shen Qingxue's words were finished, Shen Sen patted her head lightly and smiled, young Master Shi is an ambitious person, how can he play with you every day? However, he did not deny Shen Qingxue's other promises. He was just looking at He with a smile. He could feel the sincere invitations from Shen Sen and Shen Qingxue to her. They were definitely not inviting her for their own purpose. She said with a smile, thank you for your kindness, but I have always been alone. For me to join a sect and to be restricted by sect rules, it is really not the path I seek. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. As soon as He said this, Shen Sen's face immediately showed disappointment. Shen Qingxue's smiling face even collapsed, revealing a weeping expression. He laughed. She took out a stack of talisman from her arms and handed it to Shen Qingxue as she said slowly, this is a kind of voice transmission talisman, even if it is thousands of miles away, you can contact me. Moreover, each talisman can be used many times. It is much easier to use than today's inscribed message jade slip. Miss Shen can find me through this talisman if you need me. These talismans were sent to her through black market together with the recording talisman when she communicated with Jiang Huai this time. It was similar to the talisman with special functions, but it was unable to fight. He had a few stacks of it. It must be said that Jiang Huai's talent in making this special talisman was really unmatched. Shen Qingxue turned happy from sorrow as she received the talisman from He. She then asked, young Master Shi, if I want to see you, can I come to Yanjing City to find you? He nodded naturally, if you want to see me, go to the Xingde Church in Yanjing City to find Shiyu, and I will definitely come to see you. After saying goodbye to Shen Qingxue and others, He was about to leave the palace, and suddenly came the voice of a young man behind him. Shiyu, wait. He looked back and faced Xia Yichen's strong and calm face. Behind Xia Yichen, there were still the few fellow apprentices, including Nailan Ziyun, who had a dull look, but these brothers and sisters all stood far away. In addition to Nailan Ziyun, other Qixing Palace disciplines were extremely friendly in her eyes. After all, if it wasn't He, their Qixing Palace would be utterly defeated by Shui Yu sect just now. Xia Yichen moved his mouth, he held back his words for a long time before saying, you, why did you help me? Help you? He raised an eyebrow. Didn't I just say the truth? Sorry, you are thinking too much. I don't mean to help you. Xia Yichen had a twitch in the corner of his mouth. He suddenly pulled a wooden sign-like thing from his arm and threw it to He. He coldly said, this is my pass and the summon token for Qixing Palace. If you have any difficulties in the future that you need my Qixing Palace help, you pass this token to any Qixing Palace branch business, I will receive the message soon. If you come to the Qixing Palace, this token will also let you pass unimpeded. He held the wooden sign and felt the vague spiritual power on it. There were simple carved flowers and the words, 7 stars return. It seemed to be an impressive token. Without needing to feel the spiritual power of the wooden sign at this point, she could guess it by just looking at Nailan Ziyun's distorted look after seeing the token in the distance. He said with an ambiguous smile, aren't you afraid that it will be disadvantageous to your Qixing Palace by giving me such an important item? Xia Yichenling snorted coldly, our Qixing Palace has 1,000 years of history. Will I be afraid of a little disadvantage? Anyway, you keep this token. find me if you need anything. Seeing Heshi's a pair of bright slanted eyes staring at him, the clear and deep eyes seemed to be able to suck all human souls. He suddenly choked, and he stuttered a little, don't overthink it, I just don't want to owe others favors. After talking, his face flushed as if a cat with its tail being stepped on. He turned and walked away. Heshi looked at his embarrassed leaving back, and she smiled slightly. Suddenly she took out 2 other red and green wooden signs from her arm, and there was a hint of dumbfounding. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. She hadn't walked out of the Jinling kingdom so far, but she already had 3 tokens from the major sects of other countries. One was from Feng family, one was from Qingxia sect, and one was from Qixing Palace. It was really interesting. This year's big hunting match had finally come to an end. Heshi did not stay here in Breaking Spirit Mountain like other martial artists, but she chose to rush back to Tsang Mountain courtyard overnight. What made her strange was that after the closing ceremony of big hunting match, she had never seen Ouyang Haoshuan, nor anyone from Feng family. Although the people of the Feng family lost their faces before and after big hunting match, it was normal to leave early and not dare to see anyone. However, Heshi still has some uneasiness in her mind. She felt that it was safer to return to Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory earlier. Just down to the foot of Breaking Spirit Mountain, the sky was completely dark. Tonight was starless and moonless, the sky was dull. From time to time the cold wind whistled across the sky, bringing a chill. Heshi took a deep breath and left Breaking Spirit Mountain. This meant that she left the prohibition of the big hunting match. She could naturally use her flying sword. However, when Heshi was going to cast her Li Shui sword, she suddenly felt an inexplicable heart palpitations. The mournful and heartbroken roar of wild beasts sounded in the dark night. The anxiety in Heshi's heart grew stronger. She cast her Li Shui sword as soon as possible and was about to leave. Suddenly, a chill and powerful spiritual power spread from the southeast, covering thousands of square meters of the surrounding land. The spiritual power accompanied by divine sense was sweeping and exploring something. It seemed to be looking for something anxiously. At the same time, it blocked all spiritual power fluctuations in this area. The coercion and strength carried in this spiritual power was even stronger than that of Feng Yunjing, and Heshi was impossible to resist it today. Heshi's forehead exuded a little sweat. Immediately afterward, she heard countless footsteps running in the distance, and there was some screaming faintly. Quick look. We can't let him run away. He is so badly injured. He could never run far. You go over there, we go over here. Heshi frowned slightly, and it seemed that this prohibition was not directed against him. This group of people seemed to be looking for someone. She exerted slight force under his feet, then chi circulated in her body. Heshi retreated silently and quickly. Her figure submerged into the darker shadow of the mountain wall. After a while, a group of men in black and veiled masks ran through hurriedly with illuminating stone. They carefully checked their surroundings all the way back and forth again and again. Although she could not see their faces clearly, their eyes that were exposed outside the face towel were full of anxiety. Heshi's location was very good. She was hanging in the air against the mountain wall, and she was best at concealing her breath, so this group of people went around a few times here, and they did not find her. After 30 minutes, the group of people probably determined that there was no one hiding here, so they hurried away to search for the next location. Heshi jumped down from the mountain wall, looking at the direction in which these people left, and she was lost in thought. Suddenly, a painful scream came from the crowd who had just left. 1, 2, 3 times, the strong bloody smell spread in the dark night with the screams of human beings and the roar of the beast. Heshi's heart tightened, and there was a creepy fear in her spine in the direction of the bloody smell. There was no fluctuation of spiritual power, but she felt an instinctive fear. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/the king of hell is genius pampered wife / to read the latest chapters for free. A few black-shirt man figures rolled as they fled to her direction. As they rolled, they shouted sternly. Help, here, he is here, help, ah. However, without waiting for them to run a few steps, their bodies were torn into pieces. Blood was splashing everywhere, internal organs were falling all over, the air was full of disgusting breath. Hashi knew she should enter the darkness to hide her breath, but she didn't know why. Feeling the breath that covered her from afar, her footsteps could not move. That breath was too cruel, but it was too sad, desperate, angry and mad. The last black-shirt man fled only 10 steps away from Hashi and issued a sharp shout, "Save me, I don't want to die. Save me." However, in the next moment, he was torn in half, and his internal organs and flesh fell on the ground. And when he was torn open, the mouth was still wide open. His eyes were full of fear. Hashi felt a bloody smell and the warm blood splashed on her face that made her want to vomit. Immediately afterward, the body that was torn apart was thrown away. A shadow approached her slowly in the darkness. The low whine and roar, the rich bloody smell, and the scorching and burning sensation that could only be felt when approaching. It wasn't until the dark figure stood in front of Hashi that she realized that the shadow in front of her that roared like a beast and killed dozens of people in an instant turned out to be a person. Black Shadow approached her step by step, the burning breath brought a burning sensation on her skin with a bloody brutality. Those eyes that were also shining in the dark night were completely like the vertical pupils of the beast, but they exuded the color of blood that was scary. Hashi swallowed her saliva. Her long, cold fingers held on to the invisible needle. She said with a hoarse voice, "Who are you?" There were countless footsteps rushing toward this side quickly from far away. The group of black-shirt men obviously came to catch the person in front of her. A roar came from the dark figure's throat. It was mixed with the man's husky voice and the ferocious brutality of the beast. The invisible needle in Hashi's hand was almost shot out, but suddenly the light from the illuminating stone was lightly projected on the dark figure. It was just a short moment. It was almost a blur when the light shone on the dark figure and turned dark. Hashi's hand suddenly stopped. Her eyes were widening in disbelief. Ouyang Haoshuan. How could it be Ouyang Haoshuan? The time went back a few hours before the ending of the big hunting match's closing ceremony. In a remote cave at the foot of Breaking Spirit Mountain, Ouyang Zhixiong opened his eyes in a daze. At the moment of consciousness, he only felt that his whole body was sour as if he were to melt. His original cultivation of the gold core stage seemed to be solidified by something. He couldn't exert it at all. Ouyang Zhixiong looked around, and what he saw was a few masked men in black. There were only 2 leaders standing before him. One was dressed in a white scholar robe of ordinary appearance, and the other was tall, wearing a dark red robe with a woven pattern, but he was wearing a black mask on his face, covering most of his face. Seeing Ouyang Zhixiong waking up, both of them came toward him. An invisible spirit pressure rushed to his face, making Ouyang Zhixiong shudder. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/the king of hell is genius pampered wife / to read the latest chapters for free. These 2 people were at least nascent soul stage cultivation. Moreover, these masked men in black were also gold core stage. Who are these people? What do they want to do to catch me? Ouyang Zhixiong thought in this way, and immediately asked, "Who are you guys? What did you do to me?" The scholar in white chuckled, "You don't need to know who we are. Just answer our questions honestly." The man in white's voice was sharp and high-pitched, but it let people feel that he deliberately changed his voice. Ouyang Zhixiong said sharply, "Do you know who I am? I am the mighty general of the Jinling Kingdom. You dare to be presumptuous in the territory of the Jinling Kingdom, are you not afraid of dying horribly? Jinling country." The man in white seemed to hear the funniest joke. "It's just a Jinling country. If we want to eliminate it, We can do it by one finger. Do you think we are scared? General Ouyang, ha 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 ha. Ouyang Zhixiong's complexion turned blue and white. He knew that Jinling was just a small country. In addition to His Royal Highness King of Hell, there was no cultivator at the nascent soul stage. He was nominally the mighty general who was in charge of 100,000 elite soldiers, but these elite soldiers were just ordinary people in the end. If they were to fight another sect of another country, they would be trampled on. And listening to the words of these people, it was obvious that they were not the people of the Jinling kingdom. Ouyang Zhixiong took a deep breath and said in a cold voice, "Even if you are not afraid of the Jinling kingdom, you should know that nowadays, there are many people from all major sects in the Breaking Spirit Mountain. If all the major sects know that you dare to act recklessly." Before Ouyang Zhixiong's words were finished, the man in white suddenly stretched out his hand and gently waved it. Ouyang Zhixiong only felt a sudden pain on his face. He snorted and spat out blood. The man in white smiled in a slightly high-pitched voice, "Ouyang Zhixiong, do you think you are qualified to ask questions now? I have said that you only have to answer my question obediently." Ouyang Zhixiong was frightened and angry. He could only grit his teeth to suppress the fear and anger in his heart. The man in white saw that he became honest, then he said with satisfaction, "We caught you because we just want to ask you a question. Do you have the 5 elements spirit pearl in your Ouyang family?" 5 elements spirit pearl. Ouyang Zhixiong looked up in surprise. "What is that? I have never heard of any 5 elements spirit pearl." The man in white looked at the red-robed man in surprise. Then he frowned, took out something like a compass, and put at Ouyang Zhixiong's side. As the compass just came close to Ouyang Zhixiong, the pointer above gently shook. The man in white's face suddenly showed a smile of excitement, then he slapped Ouyang Zhixiong's face again. "Old fox, you dare to lie to me. If you haven't been close to the 5 elements spirit pearl for a long time, how will this compass respond to you?" Ouyang Zhixiong's cultivation was now completely sealed, and with a slap, he only felt his eardrum was buzzing. He could not speak for a while. The reticent man in the red robe finally said slowly at this time, "The best way to preserve the 5 elements spirit pearl is to generally seal it in martial artists with the same attribute spiritual power, and it will be transferred to future generations through one's bloodline, so it is normal that they didn't notice the existence of the 5 elements spirit pearl." Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Ouyang Zhixiong was full of shock. His eyes were looking at the compass, but he couldn't understand what the 2 men were talking about. He shivered and raised his head, shouting, "I really don't know what 5 elements spirit pearl, and I have never seen relevant records in my Ouyang family's codex." "Did you find the wrong person?" "Hee, people can lie, but this, Tai Chi compass, won't." The man in white smiled sinisterly at Ouyang Haoshuan, "The compass's pointer move, and that means you can at least often get in touch with 5 elements spirit pearl. Ouyang Zhixiong, if you tell the whereabouts of 5 elements spirit pearl obediently, we may still spare you the life of Ouyang family. Otherwise, it is not just you who will die." Ouyang Zhixiong shuddered as he was stared at by the cold gaze. An inexplicable fear raised in his mind. He shouted loudly, "I really don't know where 5 elements spirit pearl is. You don't touch my wife and son, otherwise I will never let you go." The man in white suddenly laughed when he heard the words, and his laughter was full of contempt. "You don't let me go? How are you going to not let me go?" With that said, he clapped in the air and said loudly, "Bring her in." Ouyang Zhixiong was stunned, but then he heard a familiar woman struggling and screaming in his ear, "Let me go, who are you? Why do you want to catch me? Don't you know who am I? Shang Yun." As Ouyang Zhixiong heard the voice, his body that had been lying on the ground struggled violently. He rushed toward the direction of the voice. "Shang Yun, are you okay? Master, why are you here too?" When Mrs. Ouyang saw Ouyang Zhixiong, she immediately rushed into his arms. Her cold body was shivering in fear. When Ouyang Zhixiong saw his wife, the fear on his face grew stronger. He stared tightly at the two in front of him, then he said as he trembled, You guys caught my wife, what do you want to do? The man in white smiled faintly, It's not just your wife. After a while, your baby son will come here to meet you. Ouyang Zhixiong's facial muscles twitched. When Mrs. Ouyang heard them mentioning her son, she immediately shouted, What do you guys want to do? You can't hurt my son. The man in white looked coldly at Ouyang Zhixiong and slowly said, Then it depends on whether Ouyang Zhixiong is willing to tell the whereabouts of 5 Elements Spirit Pearl. As long as you hand over 5 Elements Spirit Pearl, I guarantee that you can go back safely. Otherwise, your family of 3 will reunion in hell. I don't know. Ouyang Zhixiong yelled, and his plead had turned hoarse already. I really don't know what 5 Elements Spirit Pearl. If you want to kill, just direct it all at me. Please let my wife and son go. The man in white wrinkled his eyebrows, and an impatient killing intent flashed across his eyes. The man in the red robe next to him suddenly said in a low, cold voice, According to the records of great ancient book, after the 5 Elements Spirit Pearl is sealed inside the body of a martial artist, it cannot be detected. Only the martial artist of the gold core stage can manifest it. The method of manifestation is also very simple. It only requires the martial artist to be greatly stimulated. After his fundamental essence, soul and spiritual power are all in disorder. 5 Elements Spirit Pearl will not be able to maintain the seal, then it will naturally appear. Of course, as the martial artist as a vessel will also be consumed by the manifestation of 5 Elements Spirit Pearl. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. By Shah, do you need me to teach you a simple method? The voice of the man in the red robe was so arrogant that it had a hint of carelessness as a superior. He was even looking at Ouyang Zhixiong and his wife like they were just ants. What he said made Ouyang Zhixiong's body trembled. An ominous hunch hit him like a storm. The man in white, known as Bai Shah, was overjoyed when he heard the words. He bowed toward the man in red robe, Young master, I understand. You can rest assured that I and Hei Shah have been with you for a long time, and we have learned a lot of means to torture people. With that, Bai Shah made a hint at the masked man in black next to him. There was a fear in Ouyang Zhixiong's eyes. He held his wife tightly in his hands as he said in a tremble, What do you want to do? I don't know 5 Elements Spirit Pearl, I really don't know what 5 Elements Spirit Pearl is. However, the men in black simply ignored what he was talking about. They quickly stepped forward and kicked Ouyang Zhixiong, who was weak because of the seal, and then dragged Mrs. Ouyang. Mrs. Ouyang shouted sharply, her hands and legs were kicking and waving non-stop, but Mrs. Ouyang was just an ordinary foundation establishment stage cultivator. How could she be the opponent of these gold core stage powerhouses? Ouyang Zhixiong wanted to rush to grab his wife, but he was kicked away by Bai Shah. Bai Shah stepped forward and stepped on Ouyang Zhixiong, who kept roaring. He sneered, Ouyang Zhixiong, if you want your wife to suffer less, it is better to hand out the 5 Elements Spirit Pearl obediently. As he said, he exerted force with his leg. Ouyang Zhixiong felt only a sharp pain in his chest. The ribs on his chest were breaking, and it was so painful that his body twitched suddenly. Master! Mrs. Ouyang saw Ouyang Zhixiong suffering, and she suddenly cried and tried to pounce on him. But how could the black men who caught him let her do it? Bai Shah's face was covered with an evil smile. He bent down to grab Ouyang Zhixiong's hair, pulled him up, grabbed him, and showed him his wife. An undertone and deliberate sharp voice sounded in his ear like a summon of the hell. Ouyang Zhixiong, although your wife is old, and her cultivation isn't high, she still looks beautiful. Although she is old, my brothers have spent a month in Breaking Spirit Mountain. Now it is good to have the taste of a woman. Not to mention, it is the wife of the mighty general of the Jinling state. It would be nice to play with a woman with such a noble identity, don't you think so? Ouyang Zhixiong's eyes widened sharply. His eyes were bloodshot as he stared fiercely at the man next to him. You dare. You are not allowed to touch Shang Yun or my wife. Otherwise, I will never let you go. Ha ha ha, Bai Sha laughed suddenly when he saw his greasy expression and crimson eyes. That's right, that's it, just be more agitated, angrier, and more hopeless. As he said, he looked at the few men in black with a cold and cruel smile. What are you guys waiting for? By the way, to prevent her from committing suicide, you guys should first sever her meridians. With that said, he seemed to remember something, and he said something meaningfully. I remember that your son's meridians were also shocked by someone, and he lay in bed for 6 months, right? Finally, he was cured by Shiyu. Please go to https://www.novel updates. cc/the King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Now that Ms. Ouyang's meridians are severed, I think she can still be treated by Shiyu, right? Haha, no. No. Don't. The mournful roar and pleading echoed in the cave. However, no one here would pity him at all, and no one would listen to his pleading. A painful wailing sounded. Mrs. Ouyang's face turned pale. Her body crumbled to the ground like a pool of mud. At this moment, her meridians had been severed. Let alone walking or struggling, she couldn't even lift her hand. However, she was still alive, and the spiritual power in her dantian was still running, supporting her voice. She couldn't die even if she wanted to. Mrs. Ouyang's face was full of tears, despair and pain filled her eyes. But the humiliation and torture were far from over. Soon, a man rushed up, shredded her clothes. He disregarded her screaming and crying and did whatever he wanted with her. Don't dash. Don't dash. Shang Yun, let go of her dash. Ouyang Zhixiong struggled violently like a lunatic, and the voice in his mouth was like the desperate wailing of the beast. You monster, monster. Kill me if you dare. Just kill me. Ouyang Zhixiong watched that his wife being raped in front of him, but he could do nothing. He only felt that the blood in his body rushed to the top of his head, and he frantically condensed it to his dantian. As her body was struck and shaken violently, Mrs. Ouyang's face was full of silent tears. There were no more crying and screaming. Her heart was dead. Even if she could survive, she would not allow her dirty body to stay in the world. Ah! Ouyang Zhixiong suddenly burst into an astounding roar, and he slammed toward Bai Sha. His dantian and spiritual power that had been sealed initially was running at this moment. Bai Sha was caught off guard, and he was actually knocked away by Wing Zhixiong for several steps. He rushed toward her wife crazily and punched off the man who was riding his wife ruthlessly. Bai Sha's face showed a satisfied smile. Under such intense stimulation, if he really had 5 elements spirit pearl, it would soon appear. Bai Sha's figure shook, and condensed spiritual power clusters in his hand, grabbing Ouyang Zhixiong, who was madly screaming and punching. Ouyang Zhixiong, who was so brave, was just a powerless bug in his hand. Bai Sha reached out and explored Ouyang Zhixiong's dantian, but he immediately showed a disappointed look. Although his spiritual power was running, there were no signs of condensing 5 elements spirit pearl. Trash. Bai Sha's face was gloomy. He ruthlessly stomped on Ouyang Zhixiong, whose mouth was bleeding, and he sneered, "It seems that the stimulation for you is not enough. If you condense the 5 elements spirit pearl, I might let you go. But since you are so ignorant, then don't blame me for being rude." With that said, his cold, tyrannical gaze glanced at the men in black. Just now you treat Mrs. Ouyang too gentle. Since one person is not stimulating enough, then let's do 2 people and even 3 people together. Don't waste time, our General Ouyang is waiting to watch a good show. The screams of sorrow, anger, and despair resounded in the cave again and again. It was a bloody torture like hell, and it was also cruel torture that was inhumane at all. Please go to https://www.novel updates. cc/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Half an hour later, the black-shirt men who were surrounding by Mrs. Ouyang reached out to test her breath. They reported coldly, reporting to White Protector, also known as Bai Sha, Mrs. Ouyang is dead. On the ground not far away, the wife who was originally dignified and beautiful was lying dead on the ground. There was no complete skin on her body. There were blue and purple bite marks and scratches everywhere. Her legs were twisted unnaturally, and her body was in a twisted posture. Obviously not only her meridians, but also her bones in her body were broken. Her eyes were widened, the tears in the corners of the eyes had dried up, her messy hair was drooping, covering the dead eyes. The moment before she died was full of despair and hatred. Ouyang Zhixiong stared blankly at the scene in front of him, and his body trembled like a sieve. He couldn't hear anything, and he couldn't feel anything. Only the sentence in his ear kept echoing, dead, Shang Yun is dead. My wife who has been with me for decades, died. Kill. Kill. I will kill you all. I will kill you this bunch of monsters. Ouyang Zhixiong suddenly jumped up and rushed toward the man in red robe. He knew that he was the mastermind of everything. He was the one who captured him and his wife. He suggested to torture Shang Yun to stimulate him. It was this beast that killed Shang Yun. He made her die so miserably. Ouyang Zhixiong's actions were beyond everyone's expectations, especially Bai Sha, who had already known that he would assault him. Who knows, he actually pounced toward the man in red robe. The man in the red robe also showed some surprise, but then the surprise quickly turned into contempt. At the moment Ouyang Zhixiong rushed over, he condensed spiritual at his left leg and kicked toward Ouyang Zhixiong's chest. Who knows that Ouyang Zhixiong was ignoring the kick as if he didn't want his life anymore. A pair of hands full of blood because of scratching the ground rock, clawed toward the man's neck like a ghost. Bang dash! Ouyang Zhixiong was undoubtedly knocked out by the kick. Blood was flowing out of his mouth. But unexpectedly, the man in the red robe almost pinched to the neck. The mask on his face was shaken and dropped, showing a cold face. Ouyang Zhixiong struggled to get up from the ground. He saw his face when he still blurred, and his eyes widened suddenly. Feng! Feng Yunjing! He let out a hoarse roar. It turns out to be you, the Feng family. Feng Yunjing, aren't you afraid of being punished by God for doing such a immoral thing? You damn animal! Feng Yunjing sneered with his hands behind his back, and he coldly glanced at Ouyang Zhixiong on the ground. It was as if he was looking at rotten meat that made him sick. This old man didn't condense 5 elements spirit pearl after such great stimulation. It seems that 5 elements spirit pearl is probably not on him. Bai Sha nodded and said, in this way, the person in the Ouyang family who can get in contact to Ouyang Zhixiong every day, and has the cultivation of the gold core stage or above, can only be Ouyang Haoshuan. Feng Yunjing frowned, have you caught Ouyang Haoshuan yet? Bai Sha's face looked a bit ugly. He said in a deep voice, Ouyang Haoshuan, this boy is very cunning. He noticed that we were following him in Breaking Spirit Mountain, so he immediately hid in the enchantment of the Breaking Spirit Mountain. Please go to https://www.novel updates. cc/the king of hell is genius pampered wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Our people who chased him were all trapped inside. When we came out of the enchantment, we had completely lost him. Feng Yunjing's eyes were cold, and he was greatly displeased. Can't you chase when you lost him? Bai Sha quickly said, young master, please be rest assured, after the big hunting match is over, he will return to the main palace hall. I have notified him by the unique mean to Ouyang family to let him come here alone. What do you want to do with my son? Ouyang Zhixiong made a shrilling roar as he heard his son's whereabouts. Feng Yunjing, I said that we don't know what 5 elements spirit pearl, and Haoshuan is impossible to know. Just let him go. Please let him go. Feng Yunjing sneered and said quietly, relax, it doesn't matter if he doesn't know the existence of 5 elements spirit pearl. As long as the 5 elements spirit pearl is in his body and he is sufficiently stimulated, it will naturally condense and manifest. Ouyang Zhixiong shuddered, remembering the stimulation and torture he just had when he thought of his wife's tragic death. He couldn't bear it anymore. He pounced on Feng Yunjing crazily, I will fight you guys until I'm dead. Feng Yunjing's eyes were cold, and his long sword suddenly unsheathed. 2 strikes, and Ouyang Zhixiong's legs were cut off by Qi General Ouyang Zhixiong fell to the ground. His body was creeping like a bloodworm, and a large amount of blood flowed out under him which looked very miserable. Feng Yunjing sneered, if it weren't for the purpose of keeping you to stimulate Ouyang Haoshuan, do you think you can still live until now? Bai Sha looked at Ouyang Zhixiong's creeping on the ground and chuckled, Zuzu, the majestic general of the Jinling kingdom. If your soldiers see your stupid look, will they really recognize you as their genera? As the person next to him was about to respond, a man in black who was staying outside suddenly hurried in and whispered in Feng Yunjing's ear. Feng Yunjing's eyes lit up, and there was a bit of a bloodthirsty smile on his face. The time is just right. Just bring him in, then he can see such a wonderful scene. After Feng Yunjing finished speaking, he put 2 phantom hoods over the figures of Ouyang Zhixiong and Mrs. Ouyang. Soon, a tall and handsome young man walked in from outside the cave. He was hesitant in his footsteps as he said to the people around him, Didn't you say my parents are waiting for me here? Where are they? The man's voice was a little trembling, but he still grinned reluctantly, Haoshuan, uncle is only doing it for the sake of others. To call you here. It's really not related to me, really not. Ouyang Haoshuan's face sank, and he quickly entered the cave. He could feel the strong spirit pressure and spiritual power fluctuations in the cave. However, thinking of the safety of his parents, and the mother's personal jewelry that his uncle showed him, Ouyang Haoshuan didn't hesitate to enter the cave. At this time, the sun was setting, and the sky slowly dimmed. The entire breaking spirit mountain seemed to be covered with a layer of blood. But in this hole, the light became dimmer as the bloody smell became stronger. As soon as Ouyang Haoshuan entered the cave, he felt a strong spirit pressure coming to him. That was definitely the pressure of at least the intermediate level of the nascent soul stage. He looked up and saw Feng Yunjing and Bai Sha looking at him with an ambiguous smile. Ouyang Haoshuan's pupils shrank suddenly. He said coldly, as expected, the people who wants to catch me in the breaking spirit mountain are really the people of the Feng family. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/the King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Shiyu was right. The people of Feng family was the one who always wanted to catch him. Bai Sha smiled, Ouyang Haoshuan, you are much smarter than your stupid parents. In breaking Spirit Mountain, you escaped my pursuit 3 or 4 times, but your good luck has come to an end. Ouyang Haoshuan's eyes suddenly turned gloomy and shouted, what about my parents? What did you guys do to them? Just go after me if you want me. Don't hurt my parents. Oh, don't hurt your parents. Bai Sha laughed. But what if I have hurt them? With that, Bai Sha waved his hand gently. Ouyang wife and husband slowly appeared naked on the ground where there were nothing. The original dignified and beautiful and gentle mother was like a broken doll now. She was presented in a twisted and humiliating posture in front of him. The mother had long dead, but those eyes were still open, telling indescribable sadness and hatred. Mother! Ouyang Haoshuan rushed frantically to Mrs. Ouyang's body and lifted her up. Mrs. Ouyang's body made a fractured sound. The broken bones broke apart, revealing a more horrible and broken body and those traces of humiliation. Ouyang Haoshuan's body was trembling violently, and his eyes were constantly flashing with scarlet fire. He hugged his mother's body tightly and made a broken, hoarse cry, Mother! Mother! You wake up! Mother, please wake up and see me, I am Haoshuan, mother. Can you please wake up and see me? Scarlet blood and tears flowed down his eyes, and the young man in his 20s was crying like a child who had lost everything. Ouyang Haoshuan's life collapsed in his 20s, then it was reconstructed again after meeting Shiyu. In his reconstructed life, the only one who supported his sky was his parents, who always took good care of him and never abandoned him. When he was in pain, they were more painful than him. He was always treated like a treasure by his parents. But now, his mother was dead. And she was turned into such a miserably broken corpse. She suffered such a humiliation and died in front of him. Ouyang Haoshuan slowly raised his head, his scarlet eyes looked like an inferno flame, and he looked straight at Feng Yunjing and Bai Sha. You killed my mother. His voice was calm and hoarse, as if it was the most common question, but Bai Sha felt inexplicably creepy. However, thinking of his own purpose and the stimulation that Ouyang Haoshuan was receiving at this time, Bai Sha's face smiled quickly again. Why? It's enough to just look at your mother. Don't you want to look at your father, Ouyang Zhixiong? After finishing speaking, he waved his hand and the false spirit shield was removed. Ouyang Zhixiong's legs were cut, lying on the ground. Ouyang Zhixiong in the false spirit shield can speak, but his voice couldn't go through the shield. At this moment, Ouyang Zhixiong shouted and shouted, Huishuan, go now immediately. Don't care about us, just go quickly. Daddy dash. Ouyang Haoshuan yelled loudly, rushing toward Ouyang Zhixiong. However, Bai Sha moved faster than him. A somewhat pale palm was pressed behind Ouyang Zhixiong, and a powerful spiritual power was suddenly triggered. Bang! With a loud noise, only half of Ouyang Zhixiong's body was blown out by a huge force, falling straight into Ouyang Haoshuan's arms. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. In Ouyang Haoshuan's arms, Ouyang Zhixiong's eyes turned white, and he spat out blood. The crimson eyes turned pale and silent. The moment when Bai Sha just broke his heart meridian, he also shattered his dantian. He was no longer alive. Scarlet blood seemed to flow endlessly, pouring out of Ouyang Zhixiong's mouth. Ouyang Haoshuan grabbed his hand tightly and tried to send his spiritual power in, shouting with a dying tone, Father, don't die. I will take you to Shiyu. She will definitely save you. Daddy, do you hear me? Don't die. Don't leave me. Daddy. However, how could a person with a broken dantian and heart meridian be able to receive spiritual power again? All the efforts were in vain, and he could do nothing done except watching his father dying. Ouyang Zhixiong grabbed his son's hand with his backhand. The pair of hands that were originally wide and powerful were covered with blood at this time. The cold blood stuck to the palm of Ouyang Haoshuan as if it covered all the light in life. Haoshuan, run! Ouyang Zhixiong clenched his hand tightly, saying each word with difficulty, run now. Don't condense sadness. Don't. Condense 5 elements spirit pearl. Quickly run. Live. Be sure to live. After finishing the last word, Ouyang Zhixiong finally loosened his hands, closed his eyes and lost his voice. Daddy! Daddy! Ouyang Haoshuan froze in place, his eyes were empty and blank. All hope, all fear, all happiness and expectation were bursting like a bubble. They all left him. He stood up slowly. The dark and silent pupil looked at Bai Sha and Feng Yunjing. Deep in the pupil, a string of scarlet flames burned little by little, and it boiled little by little. He suddenly laughed lowly, but his voice hoarse had a bitter tenderness. It's gone, my parents, my home, all gone, but you are still alive. Why are you murderers who killed my parents, alive? Ha ha ha. Feng family, Feng Yunjing. You caught my parents, tortured them, and killed them in front of me. You forced me to a desperate situation. What do you want to do? The creepy tenderness suddenly turned into hysterical madness. Ouyang Haoshuan's hair that was tied by the hair crown suddenly rose up high without wind. It was like a huge wind rising from his body, taking his body as the axis and spreading throughout the cave. The powerful scorching heat wave caused the men in black to start to stagger. Some even made a painful sullen snort. Feng Yunjing and Bai Sha also had dignified expressions, but there were more joy and excitement in their eyes. Such a powerful spiritual power fluctuation, such a hot temperature, it seems that 5 elements spirit pearl is definitely on Ouyang Haoshuan. And it is most likely to be a fire element spirit pearl. Sure enough, a layer of golden flames slowly burned in his dantian, then it gradually condensed. In the constant rotation, the golden flames slowly gathered together and turned into a bead in the size of a small nail. The bead showed a bloody red color, gently shaking in the dantian of Ouyang Haoshuan and radiating golden light from time to time. Fire element spirit pearl. Feng Yunjing whispered excitedly, "It's really fire element spirit pearl." Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Bai Sha was trembling with excitement. As long as we can get the fire element spirit pearl, our Feng family will unify the Miluo continent and rise to the upper realm. Feng Yunjing barely suppressed his excitement and shouted, "Immediately get the spirit pearl." Bai Sha immediately responded. He channeled his spiritual power and rushed toward Ouyang Haoshuan. However, before waiting for Bai Sha to approach Ouyang Haoshuan, a dazzling light suddenly burst out from his dantian. As soon as Bai Sha touched the light, he felt a burning pain all over his body. He hurriedly blocked with spiritual power before barely supporting it. Ouyang Haoshuan's low, hoarse laughter came from not far away. "So what you want is this, fire element spirit pearl. For this, you killed my parents, destroyed my family, and forced me to such a desperate situation. Feng Yunjing, do you really want this fire element spirit pearl? Then take a look, do you have any life to get it?" As soon as the voice fell, the heat wave that had been surging suddenly became even hotter. Feng Yunjing cast the Rakshasa flag to protect his surroundings to then barely block the heat wave. However, when he looked at Ouyang Haoshuan, his expression changed abruptly. "No, he will fuse the fire element spirit pearl to explode Jin Dan, you guys stop him now." After Feng Yunjing's order, the men in black around him assaulted Ouyang Haoshuan. Innumerable flying sword magic weapons shot toward Ouyang Haoshuan. However, before the flying swords got close to Ouyang Haoshuan, they were all melting as if they encountered a blazing flame. This is a magic weapon forged with rare materials. Why would it be melted? Everyone was stunned by the terrifying power of fire element spirit pearl. At this time, Ouyang Haoshuan can clearly feel the fragmentation of his gold core and the collapse of dantian in his body. He felt the scorching heat wave that roasted the flying sword wrapped his body little by little. It burned his dantian, burned his meridians, and melted his bones. This was a kind of pain that ordinary people simply couldn't bear. His cultivation was disappearing little by little, and the life-sustaining flesh and bones were swallowed and melted bit by bit. Heartbreaking and all bones eroding couldn't compare to it in the slightest. But Ouyang Haoshuan still kept a smile. The face that was flushing red was still revealing a crazy smile. He had nothing to lose now. For revenge, he could give everything and endure everything. His meridians, skeletons and dantian were all gone, but there was another powerful fire spiritual power supporting his body so that he could live and be able to exert powerful power. He was going to kill the animals in front of him at all costs. Feng Yunjing, you will all die. I want you all to be buried with my parents. The fiery red spiritual power surged out of his body and swept toward Feng Yunjing and Bai Sha. Those well-trained black-shirt men did not hesitate to block in front of Feng Yunjing without waiting for orders. One by one, they operated the spiritual power in their body and cast their magic weapons, trying to block the attack of the red spiritual power. However, this red spiritual power actually swallowed them effortlessly with just a touch. These people only felt a powerful force that burned souls, then they lost consciousness. In this dim cave, they did not even leave corpses and clothes. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell's Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Bai Sha's face had turned pale at this time. He pushed Feng Yunjing behind him and shouted, "Master, let's go now." With the combination between 5 elements Spirit Pearl and the self-explosive power of Jin Dan, Ouyang Haoshuan's current strength is definitely not something we can compete with. But as long as it lasts for a while, his body can't bear the power of 5 elements Spirit Pearl, and it will completely collapse. By then 5 elements Spirit Pearl is ours. Feng Yunjing nodded quickly. He quickly cast a Rakshasa flag to wrap around him, then they walked toward the cave. But will Ouyang Haoshuan give them a chance to escape? A fiery spiritual power waved again, slashing hard toward the two. Bai Sha felt a scorching heat wave behind him, and his face changed greatly. He turned around and quickly cast a huge bell, blocking himself and Feng Yunjing behind him. Later, he did not care about this bell and pulled Feng Yunjing out of the cave quickly. The night outside the cave was already night. It was a starless moonless night. A cool breeze hit their face, making Bai Sha relieved. He said in a deep voice, "Young master, let's hide first." Before Bai Sha's words could finish his word, his face changed suddenly. The bell behind him made a painful sound, and it shattered into pieces under one hit by Ouyang Haoshuan's blow. The next second, Ouyang Haoshuan's figure flew behind him like a flame, exuding a flame that burned his skin and meat. Bai Sha showed a bit of panic in his eyes. Without thinking about it, he stretched out the protective cover and took out his defensive magic weapon anxiously. But his strong protective cover was fragile like a piece of paper. It was suddenly burned by a powerful fire spiritual power and disappeared. "Ah, no, dash." Bai Sha made a stern shout, a pair of hands pierced into his dantian before he could say anything. The scorching burning power instantly burned his dantian and internal organs into ashes. Bai Sha's mouth opened wide, and his face was full of panic and unwillingness. Then he fell to the ground, twitched a few times, and lost his life forever. Ouyang Haoshuan stood in the same place as like a Shura, looking at Bai Sha's body. He suddenly gave a laugh, but the voice seemed to be a cry of despair and sorrow. "Daddy, do you see it? I'm getting revenge, for you." After talking, the Scarlet's gaze suddenly looked at Feng Yunjing who was aside. Feng Yunjing shuddered. He looked at Bai Sha's hollow hole in his stomach. His burned dantian was still glowing, then it was dragged out like it was pulling out by a needle. "It's your turn, you, die for my parents." Ouyang Haoshuan opened and closed his lips with difficulty, spitting out hoarse words. The fire spiritual power of his body burned wildly, and his hair fluttered without wind. The pair of eyes were as red as fire, and he seemed to lose his senses at all. There was a low roar in his throat, which was not like a human voice, but like a beast. Feng Yunjing took a deep breath, and he raised his Rakshasa flag in his hand suddenly. A huge black air shrouded from the sky. The momentum was overwhelming, bringing a chilling wind. Ouyang Haoshuan didn't seem to see the black gas at all, nor could he feel the coldness and the underground cave. His intellect at this time has completely disappeared, leaving only the instinct of slaughter and hatred. The fiery elements of fire boiled and burst inside him, driving him to pounce on Feng Yunjing. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell's Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Feng Yunjing's muscles and nerves were tense all over his body, and his hands quickly formed a gesture, controlling the dark shadows condensed in the Rakshasa flag to swallow Ouyang Haoshuan. However, as soon as the shadow came into contact with the blood of Ouyang Haoshuan, he shivered in extreme agony and retreated in fear. Feng Yunjing's complexion changed so much that he had no time to dodge, and Ouyang Haoshuan had hit his shoulder with a palm. Feng Yunjing was blown back. He only felt a burning pain in his left shoulder, then he lost consciousness again. He turned his head in horror and found that a hole in his left shoulder was melted by the fire element. Both his flesh and the bones were burned by the terrible fire's spiritual power. Ouyang Haoshuan raised another beast-like roar in the sky, staring at Feng Yunjing brutally with crimson eyes. He charged at Feng Yunjing again with a murderous intention. At this moment, Feng Yunjing's face finally showed some fear. He shivered as he took out a whistle and put it on his mouth, blowing the whistle in a hurry and panic. Expensive and powerful magic weapons were taken out by him and blocked in front of him. His trembling hands controlled the magic weapons, and he could not hide his fears. Seeing that Ouyang Haoshuan was about to reach him, suddenly the fire's spiritual power on Ouyang Haoshuan's body was like a flame that extinguished after the fuel was gone. Ouyang Haoshuan stumbled down on the ground. His body was dark. After the heat was gone, he was still twitching and shaking. Feng Yunjing was stunned for a moment, then he overjoyed. Ouyang Haoshuan's power of self-explosive gold core finally could not support the powerful power of fire element spirit pearl and collapse. He stood up with the severe pain in his shoulder. As he just stood still, a few shadows appeared in front of him. They bowed to him as they said, "Young master." Feng Yunjing pointed to Ouyang Haoshuan on the ground and said in a deep voice, "Tie him up and put him in a 10,000 years dark steel, a type of fictional rare material, cage. Let's go right away." The movement just now was too big. Although he has covered up with the array, it was hard to guarantee for a master like Shinsen to not discover it on breaking Spirit Mountain. The men in black bowed and responded, then they rushed toward Ouyang Haoshuan who had fallen to the ground. One of the men in black transfigured a dark steel cage in his hand. He opened the iron door of the cage and said to his companions, "Throw him in." The companions around him nodded as they bent over to grab Ouyang Haoshuan. As his hand just grabbed Ouyang Haoshuan's hair, Ouyang Haoshuan, who seemed to be unconscious, suddenly looked up. The man in black retrieved his hand abruptly, making a short scream subconsciously. Because at this moment, he met a pair of crimson eyes. This was a pair of scary eyes he had never seen before. It was scarlet like blood, but his eyeballs weren't round as usual, but they became vertical pupils like a beast. There was no trace of sanity and consciousness in those eyes. The only thing left was the instinct of killing, bloodlust and wild. As the man in black shouted, before he could warn his companions he felt a black shadow rushing toward him. There was a piercing and burning pain on his shoulder. Immediately afterward, he couldn't even make a scream. He was torn into half forcefully. Everyone was stunned by the scene before them. Blood, internal organs, fur, eyes, all horrible things flying in the air and rolling on the ground. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. After the people knew what had happened, they discovered that Ouyang Haoshuan, who was lying there, disappeared. Feng Yunjing looked cloudy. He bit his lips. Find him. Search every place on this mountain foot. You must find Ouyang Haoshuan. During this breaking Spirit Mountain trip, they lost so many gold core stage masters and lost their faces. Now even Bai Sha, the nascent soul stage master, had died in the hands of Ouyang Haoshuan. He even gave up the plan to take Shiyu back just to get the 5 elements Spirit Pearl. If he can't bring back 5 elements Spirit Pearl, how should he explain to his father and elders? Feng Yunjing took a few deep breaths, and it took a while to endure the pain in his shoulders and the tyranny in his heart. This area has been surrounded by our enchantment. He will never escape. Find him for me as soon as possible. Never let 5 elements Spirit Pearl fell into the hands of others. Yes, young master. In the silent night, Ouyang Haoshuan walked through the icy mountains. There was a low, broken sound from time to time in his throat, and the blood-red horror pupils looked distracted. He could feel that his body was constantly breaking down, and all his organs and meridians were burned as if they would be turned into ashes and completely scattered in the next moment. However, there was like a strong force in the body, supporting him to live. I must live. I still have important things to do. Ouyang Haoshuan couldn't remember how long he had been walking, let alone where the destination was. He just kept moving forward, making a low roar. Someone rushed over, holding an illuminating stone and attacking him. He forgot who these people were, but he instinctively felt disgusted. He tore them apart with bloody claws. All his sanity seemed to be all burned, his memory and emotions were lost little by little, just like his life slowly reaching the end. Until there was a surprised voice in his ear, Ouyang Haoshuan. It was clear and transparent like the morning dewdrops in the red water. It's so nice. Ouyang Haoshuan thought. I seem to hear this voice before. Heshi looked at the dark shadow in front of her with dim light. She could not believe her eyes. The man in front of me, no, maybe it should be a human-like creature, is Ouyang Haoshuan. The skin on his whole body seemed to be burnt by something. Except for the pair of scarlet eyes and a face, every other exposed area was scorched. There was even a disgusting rotten smell. But the most terrifying thing was the breath emanating from him. Heshi was a doctor, so she knew how to diagnose someone. She didn't have to check Ouyang Haoshuan's pulse to determine that all vitality in this person was long gone. Not to mention his dantian and meridian, even the ordinary internal organs and respiratory tract were burned. But the strange thing was that he could still move with such a collapsed body, and he could even emanate such a terrifying killing intention. Especially the horrifying power that loomed out of him. Before Heshi approached, she already instinctively felt fear. The current Ouyang Haoshuan was more like a mobile corpse with a powerful threat instead of a human. Heshi wanted to ask him what happened. However, the footsteps behind her were getting closer and more rapid. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell's Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Heshi didn't have much time to think. She grabbed Ouyang Haoshuan, took him slightly up in the air, and clung it on the mountain wall. Ouyang Haoshuan opened his mouth, exhaling a hot breath, and his throat gave a muffled beast-like roar. Heshi stretched out her hand and covered his mouth, saying in a low tone, "If you don't want to die, don't make a sound." The cold and silky little hands were attached to his face and lips, bringing a coolness like an ice spring. Ouyang Haoshuan's original scarlet eyes flashed, his body was stiff and tight, but he really calmed down. Under the wall of the mountain, a group of black-shirted men hurriedly rushed over. They examined the torn bodies and searched back and forth several times. After confirming that there was no trace of Ouyang Haoshuan, they slowly moved away from this place. Heshi dragged Ouyang Haoshuan down from the mountain. As she was about to let go of Ouyang Haoshuan, her shoulders were suddenly caught. Ouyang Haoshuan's hands have become pitted as if every inch of his skin had been burnt, exuding a rancid smell. He opened his scarlet eyes wide and stared closely at Heshi. Suddenly, the eyes were full of pain, despair, hatred, brutality, and cruelty. A muffled roar coming between his lips and teeth, but all the sounds were closer to a beast than a normal person. Heshi felt pain on her shoulder that was being clutched, but she didn't break away from him. She looked into his eyes instead. "Ouyang Haoshuan, what do you want me to do?" "Father." A hoarse voice spit coming out from Ouyang Haoshuan's mouth. It was husky and trembling, and it had the hint of begging desperately, "Cave, corpse, buried, into the ground." As Heshi heard this, her pupils shrank suddenly. Does Ouyang Haoshuan mean that General Ouyang and Mrs. Ouyang are both dead? Their bodies are in the cave. How could this be? I only had just met General Ouyang before big hunting match. He and Ouyang Haoshuan even spoke together a few hours ago. In just a few hours, what has happened to General Ouyang and Mrs. Ouyang that killed them, and Ouyang Haoshuan turns into such a beast. Looking at Ouyang Haoshuan's bloodthirsty eyes, He shuddered. She nodded and said, "You can rest assured. I understand what you mean, and I will find your parents' bodies and bury them." The scarlet in Ouyang Haoshuan's eyes flashed, staring at the Heshi's clear eyes in the darkness. In the center of his eyes seemed to be churning out countless words and feelings, wanting to speak and expressing. However, it was too late, too late. "Be careful of the Feng family. Shiyu, the last voice was disappearing in the cold wind. Ouyang Haoshuan's body fell straight down. His head fell on Heshi's shoulder, and all his voice was lost. No breathing, no heartbeat, no pulse. Ouyang Haoshuan is dead? Heshi's eyes widened incredulously. Her eyes were full of horror, anger, and hatred. Feng family, it is Feng family again. How many people do they want to kill before they are satisfied? Heshi took a deep breath, masked the anger and hatred in her eyes, and gently supported Ouyang Haoshuan's stiff body. Her hands stopped suddenly, and her face revealed a surprised expression. Ouyang Haoshuan's body clearly had no pulse and heartbeat, nor could she feel any vitality, but there was a powerful force trembling in his dantian. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. At the moment when Ouyang Haoshuan's heartbeat stopped, this force seemed to replace the role of the heart and began to beat rhythmically. Moreover, with the beating, a weak force passed from Ouyang Haoshuan's dantian to all his limbs. Heshi was surprised. Little Egg's voice suddenly came in his ear. "Mom, this brother is so strange. He died obviously, but his soul has not faded yet. The spiritual power is still running just like he is alive. And Little Egg feels that the power in his stomach is familiar, It seems nice to smell and taste delicious. It's very similar to the taste of Mom." Heshi moved his heart and frowned, thinking, is Ouyang Haoshuan still alive? However, his heartbeat and breathing stopped. Even if I'm a miracle healer, I don't know how to save him. As she was hesitating, she faintly heard the footsteps of the black-shirt men coming from far away. Heshi's heart was tight. Before she could think much, she kept Ouyang Haoshuan into the storage ring and threw him into the void. In fact, the storage ring could not store people but only dead things. Not to mention that there was no spiritual power and air in the storage ring, so it was impossible for living people to stay. But now Ouyang Haoshuan's situation was different. He has no breathing and no heartbeat, which was no different from the dead. The storage ring could naturally put him in. Heshi did not dare to stay in place, but she moved quietly along the mountain wall with Qinggong. 1. She also remembered Ouyang Haoshuan's request to find the bodies of the General Ouyang and his wife in the cave. About 5 minutes later, Heshi touched the entrance of the cave with no accident. As the saying goes, the most dangerous place is the safest place. The people of the Feng family just had a conflict with Ouyang Haoshuan here, so they didn't expect that Ouyang Haoshuan would come back here, so the guards here were the most relaxed. Heshi easily dealt with the 2 Meridian stage martial artists at the entrance with Purple Abyss Vine and Invisible Needle, then she quickly infiltrated into the hole. There were only illuminating stones in the cave, the light was dim. However, when Heshi saw the scene in front of her, she took a deep breath in awe. Whether it was the naked Mrs. Ouyang who died with her eyes open or General Ouyang whose legs were cut off and lying in the pool of blood, that scene was terrible. It was like a living hell. It is no wonder that Ouyang Haoshuan will not be able to withstand the stimulation and turned into his current state. Heshi took a deep breath and walked quickly to Mrs. Ouyang, squatted down and gently closed her eyes. She took out a soft cotton shirt and wrapping Mrs. Ouyang's scarred body in it, then it was included in the storage space. In front of her, she could still vaguely remembered Mrs. Ouyang weeping for joy a few months ago, and she was thankful to her. Regardless of the details, General Ouyang and Mrs. Ouyang loved Ouyang Haoshuan so much. Watching the loved one who loved him died in front of him, how desperate and sad was Ouyang Haoshuan. He walked to General Ouyang's body and retrieved his 2 severed legs. As she was about to put General Ouyang into the storage ring, her hand pressing on General Ouyang's chest stunned a little. A glimmer of light flashed in his eyes, then He quickly took out the silver needle for acupuncture and struck it quickly into the major acupoints of Ouyang Zhixiong. After a moment, Ouyang Zhixiong moaned and slowly opened his eyes. 1. https://en. Wikipedia. org/wiki/qinggong. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. General Ouyang, how are you? Ouyang Zhixiong's face looked confused for a while, and his eyes looked dispirited, but after a moment, his body twitched suddenly, then grabbed Heshi's wrist. Haoshuan. Haoshuan, my son. Heshi's bone made a creaky sound being clutched by his blood-stained hands, but her face did not show a bit of pain. She just said with a calm expression, General Ouyang, rest assured, I have met Ouyang Haoshuan, he let me rescue you. Haoshuan is fine. Ouyang Zhixiong didn't believe it, and he asked with a hoarse tone, Feng Yunjing, let him go. Heshi nodded and said, Ouyang Haoshuan was injured, but I will heal him. It's great, great. The hot tears fell from Ouyang Zhixiong's eyes with despair and hope. Miracle healer she, please save him, make sure you save him. Heshi only felt sour in her heart. She held Ouyang Zhixiong's hand and said in a hoarse voice, you can rest assured about that. I was able to heal his meridians previously, so this time I can still save him. Thank you. At least Haoshuan can be saved. That's great. Ouyang Zhixiong's face showed a gratifying smile, and the initial vitality that appeared slowly disappeared again. Miracle healer she, it's great that you can accompany him. I want you to tell my son. Sorry that his dad and mom can't stay with him anymore, leaving him alone. However, he still has you fortunately, Heshi said in a deep voice. General Ouyang, please don't say that, I will find some ways to save you. No. No. I'm going to accompany Shang Yun, Ouyang Zhixiong said softly in a hoarse voice. Shang Yun has always been timid and afraid of loneliness. I'm afraid she will be waiting alone in the afterworld, and she will be sad. I am going to accompany her. I promised her, to always be with her, young master she, thank you. Ouyang Zhixiong reached out and pulled out a black wood carving from his arm, shoving it into Heshi's hands. He said softly, it's really good that I can see you before I die. I have nothing to repay you. This is Jinwei Army's commander's seal. Although the Jinwei arm nominally belongs to the army of the Jinling royal family, in fact it is actually my private army, they only follow my command. Young Master Shi, you can take this seal. Together with Haoshuan. Haoshuan's identity, you can mobilize 100,000 troops. I'm entrusting Jinwei army and Haoshuan to you. Feng family. Feng family. Ouyang Zhixiong's body twitched, then his eyes turned white again. You must revenge on Feng family for me. As soon he said that, he suddenly lost his breath, but his eyes were still staring, his eyes full of hatred and unwillingness. Heshi sighed softly, closed his eyes for him, and put his body into the storage ring. As she spread open her slender palm, there was a black jade carved into the shape of a magical beast. The word Jinwei was inscribed below the jade. This was the seal that could mobilize 100,000 Jinwei army. General Ouyang gave this army seal to her was to repay her kindness, and on the other hand, he wanted her to ensure his son's safety. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Because even if Jinwei army was Ouyang family's private army, if she wanted to mobilize 100,000 troops, it was definitely not enough to rely on a piece of jade seal. Only Ouyang Haoshuan's identity and General Ouyang's seal could truly mobilize 100,000 troops. He Shi put the commander's seal into the space. Without thinking more, she turned and left the cave. However, just after walking out of the cave, her complexion suddenly changed. Immediately afterward, in the dark mountains ahead, a dazzling light lit up, illuminating her solitary figure. Feng Yunjing's somber voice came slowly from the open space. Shiyu, do you have to go against our Feng family every time? He Shi narrowed her eyes and looked at the man who came out slowly under the light. She sneered, you might as well ask you, Feng family, why do you always do something that is too abhorrent, and I always encounter it? Feng Yunjing's eyes suddenly froze, and a powerful spirit pressure came. Where is Ouyang Haoshuan? Ouyang Haoshuan? He Shi showed a surprised look. She frowned as she spoke. I was just going down the mountain and inadvertently entered this cave, then I saw the tragic death of General Ouyang and Mrs. Ouyang. Just now I was still thinking who was so heartless that they actually tortured General Ouyang and his wife to such a terrible state and even killed them. Hee, now I got it, it turned out to be you. This kind of cruel thing is really the style of your Feng family. He Shi watched the eyes of Feng Yunjing and others full of disgust and contempt. You didn't even let the weak Mrs. Ouyang live, and you even did such beastly things to her. Feng Yunjing, Ouyang family, what kind of hatred do you have with them? You even want to kill the women and children. Your Feng family is so heartless, aren't you afraid of being condemned by God retribution? He Shi questioned loudly, her expression was furious, and it had a bit of shock and doubt. There was no flaw in her eyes. Feng Yunjing felt a little moved in his heart. He frowned, you really don't know where Ouyang Haoshuan is? I am the one who wants to ask you where is Ouyang Haoshuan. He Shi said sharply, you killed General Ouyang and his wife, are you even going to kill Ouyang Haoshuan? Did you kill him yourself, and now you pretend to not know where is he? When He Shi spoke that, Feng Yunjing's face became more and more ugly. A black-shirted man soon came around and whispered anxiously, young master, we have gone through every inch of the foot of the mountain, but we still can't find the trace of Ouyang Haoshuan. Several other black-shirted men hurriedly entered the cave, searched around, and shook their heads toward Feng Yunjing. Ouyang Haoshuan seemed to have disappeared out of thin air in this world. A black-shirted man's trembling voice sounded in Feng Yunjing's ear, young master, could it be that Ouyang Haoshuan broke through our enchantments and escaped with his weird cultivation? As soon as he said this, the anger and fierceness in Feng Yunjing's eyes could even raise a storm. Feng Yunjing's ice-cold gaze looked at He Shi. He sneered, Shiyu, I don't care if you are hiding Ouyang Haoshuan. Since I can't get Ouyang Haoshuan, at least it's good to get you back. After he said that, he waved his hand. The black-shirted men rushed forward immediately and surrounded He Shi in the center efficiently. He Shi sneered, Feng Yunjing, but it is still within the scope of breaking Spirit Mountain. Don't you forget that there is a consensus among the 4 major sections. You can't kill anyone during the big hunting match. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. You actually dared to kill General Ouyang and Mrs. Ouyang at the foot of Breaking Spirit Mountain, and now you even say that you want to kidnap me? Aren't you afraid that the other 3 major sects will condemn you, Feng family? What a joke! Feng Yunjing sneered. The people and things that Feng Yunjing asks for, I will always get them. He is only a general of the Jinling Kingdom. He is just an ant in my eyes. So what if I kill him? What can the Jinling Kingdom do to me? As for the other 3 major sects, do you think they would go against the Feng family for you, Shiyu? Hee, Shiyu, don't dream. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he slowly walked forward. The falcon-like gaze fixed on He Shi as if he was going to swallow her. Shiyu, this time, you came to deliver yourself to me, then you don't even think of escaping from my hand. Oh, is it? Instead of panicking, He smiled lowly. The smile was full of provocation and contempt. Feng Yunjing, do you dare to speak those words in front of these people behind you again? Feng Yunjing's face changed suddenly. He suddenly turned around and he met Shinsen's ambiguous smiling face. Behind Shinsen were the disciples of Qingxie sect, as well as Emperor Shangguan Wenji and Prince Shangguanqi of the Jinling Kingdom. Shinsen's cold eyes looked at Feng Yunjing and slowly said, "Young Master Feng, I just heard you say that you killed the General Ouyang and his wife like you are just stepping on two ants. I don't know if it is true." Feng Yunjing's eyebrows frowned slightly, and he glanced at He with his eyes full of anger and coldness. He snorted coldly, then he said lightly, "Elder Shen, don't you think you are bothering others' business too much? Whether it is Ouyang Zhixiong or Shiyu, it seems that they have nothing to do with your Qingxie sect, right?" Shinsen's face sank. He said fiercely, "They have nothing to do with my Qingxie sect, but Master Feng, don't forget, Big Hunting Match has regulations that no one can be killed during the competition, let alone in killing anyone in the Breaking Spirit Mountain. This is the rule we set together. Does Feng family want to break the rule?" Feng Yunjing's eyes sank. He suddenly said, "Elder Shen, did you see my Feng family killing anyone? You accuse me of killing people just based solely on Shiyu's words. Do you Qingxie sect really think that our Feng family is easy to bully?" Shinsen's expression looked stagnant. He indeed did not see Feng Yunjing killing anyone. However, without waiting for them to speak, He suddenly took a step forward and took out the General Ouyang and his wife body from the storage ring. Her movements were gentle and solemn as if she was handling a fragile porcelain. However, when she opened the white cloth covering General Ouyang and his wife, all the people present took a deep breath. The broken body, the bruised scars, the broken limbs, each of them seemed to be telling the pain and torture that the General Ouyang couple had experienced before they died. Even Shangguan Wenji couldn't help but exclaimed, "Sir Ouyang, how could it be?" He stood up. Her cold eyes slowly looked at Feng Yunjing and the black-shirt man behind him. The clear and cold voice echoed clearly in the silent night, "I accidentally went into the cave, and I saw this scene already." Mrs. Ouyang was dead, but General Ouyang still had his last breath. As soon as He said that, Feng Yunjing's expression suddenly changed. His cold eyes stared at her deadly as if he would rush over to break her neck if she said one more sentence that she shouldn't say. Please go to https://www.novel updates. cc/the King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. She didn't even look at him as she just looked at Shinsen and others. General Ouyang said before his death that the people who tortured them were the people of Feng Yunjing and Feng family, and he said that Ouyang Haoshuan was also in their hands. He begged me to save him. Young Master Feng said that you didn't kill them, then let me ask you, why are your men with their faces covered appear here in such a late night? Speaking of which, He's tone was full of resentment and hatred, her voice was trembling. Killing them is not too much. I really can't understand how did General Ouyang and his wife offend you that you had to torture them like this? Feng Yunjing, are you still a human? He's words quickly aroused the public's indignation. Everyone's eyes looked at the Feng family's people with disgust and hatred. Because General Ouyang and his wife really looked so miserable. Especially Mrs. Ouyang. Even if the Ouyang family really offended the Feng family, it must not be related to Mrs. Ouyang. But looking at the marks on Mrs. Ouyang, she was treated like a beast before she died. Such a vicious, cruel act could no longer be explained by the law of nature of the immortal realm. Feng Yunjing was relieved to hear He's words. He secretly thought that Ouyang Zhixiong only cared about the life and death of his son before he died, and he had no time to tell the truth. As long as Shinsen and others didn't know about 5 Elements Spirit Pearl, sooner or later Ouyang Haoshuan and 5 Elements Spirit Pearl would be in the pocket of their Feng family. Feng Yunjing's dark and gloomy eyes swept over He's beautiful and delicate side face, and the hands at his sides clenched tightly. Once again, Shiyu slipped away from his hands again. If Shensen comes later, even if he couldn't find Ouyang Haoshuan, he could at least take Shiyu back to let her be his own woman and let her serve the Feng family. But now all this was obviously impossible. In this trip to the Breaking Spirit Mountain, the loss of Feng family was almost incalculable. Thinking of this, Feng Yunjing's expression became more gloomy and terrifying. However, when facing the Qingxie sect in Shenzhen, even if he was unwilling, he could only endure it. He took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "I admit that I killed General Ouyang and his wife." As soon as this remark came out, everyone suddenly went into an uproar. However, Feng Yunjing turned the thread of discussion and said in a casual tone, "But I didn't kill Ouyang Zhixiong intentionally, but I want to eliminate the traitor for the Jinling kingdom." What? An unbelievable shout broke out from the crowd. Even Shangguan Wenji and Shangguan Qi were shocked. They were unable to understand what Feng Yunjing meant. Feng Yunjing raised the corner of his mouth coldly. His eyes looked arrogant. Ouyang Zhixiong held 100,000 elite soldiers, but he tried to rebel. "I was entrusted by Shangguan Wenji, the emperor of Jinling, to capture the traitor, collect evidence of their crimes, and take back the commander's seal." However, Ouyang Zhixiong was cunning. He refused to confess his no matter how, and he didn't want to take out the commander's seal, so I had no choice but to kill him. As for his wife and son, committing treason is enough to exterminate all related families. Mrs. Ouyang and Ouyang Haoshuan should be dead too. I kill them to eliminate the danger of the Jinling kingdom. What is wrong with that? As he spoke, he looked at Shangguan Wenji with cold and threatening eyes. He slowly smiled, "Emperor, don't you think that is right?" Shangguan Wenji turned his head and met Feng Yunjing's cold, evil eyes like a viper, and his body suddenly trembled. Please go to https://www.novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. His eyes glanced through the bodies of Ouyang Zhixiong and his wife on the ground. They looked so miserable and so sad. This was the minister who was most loyal to him. He held 100,000 troops to protect his Shangguan family. Today, he was killed by Feng Yunjing in a simple sentence that he had committed treason, and he still wanted him to admit that Feng family was killing the Ouyang family for Shangguan Wenji. This is going too far. Feng family is going too far in threatening me. Shangguan Wenji's body was trembling violently. His lips kept opening and closing. He tried to speak, but he couldn't spit out half a word. It wasn't until Feng Yunjing's eyes revealed a murderous intention that Shangguan Qi caught his father's hand and stepped forward. "Feng. Young Master Feng is right, Ouyang family committed treason, so he and his family should be executed. Feng family killed the Ouyang family, it was helping our Shangguan family to remove the traitors. Our Shangguan family is grateful for that." As soon as Shangguan Qi said this, Feng Yunjing immediately smiled. The black-shirt men of Feng family also showed triumph in their eyes. As expected, the royal family of such a small country, Jinling, how dare they offend our Feng family? It was just a general who died. If King of Hell was not in town, what if the Feng family directly destroyed Jinling? Shenzhen and others looked very ugly. Even an idiot could see the absurd and ridiculous reason for Feng Yunjing's murder. He didn't even intend to cover it up. However, the affirmation of the Jinling royal family made them have to give up on pursuing the case. Coupled with the power of the Feng family, no one wanted to go into conflict with the Feng family for just a Ouyang family, so this matter could only go unresolved. Since there is nothing wrong, then we Feng family will leave first. Feng Yunjing took a deep look at Heshi, then he greeted Shinsen casually and left quickly. Heshi took a long sigh of relief as he watched Feng Yunjing and others walked away. After relaxing for a while, she only felt a cold spine as if she had just stepped out from the Hell Gate. When she met Ouyang Haoshuan a while ago, she sent a message to Shinsen and asked him to come to the foot of the mountain. Now it seemed that fortunately, she was decisive at the time, otherwise she and Ouyang Haoshuan would have fallen into the hands of Feng Yunjing. He carefully retrieved General Ouyang's body into the storage ring. Shangguan Wenji's shuddering voice stopped her. Please return Sir Ouyang's body to me, I will surely organize a lavish burial. He looked at him with a sneer. Her eyes were full of disdain. Lavish burial? With what identity? As a traitor? Shangguan Wenji, won't you feel shame to say this? Shangguan Wenji shuddered as he heard the words, and Shangguan Qi shouted fiercely, impudent. What are you? You dare to talk to my father like this? Who are you again? He hadn't spoken yet. Shen Qingchua stepped forward, pointing at Shangguan Qi's nose and yelling. You can't even protect your general. You let the Feng family show off their power in front of you guys. You accused General Ouyang as a traitor just to protect your throne. Pui, you coward, what qualification do you have to talk to young Master Shi? Shangguan Qi was being scolded until his face turned gloomy, but what identity was Shen Qingchua, and what was the Shen family's identity? He dared to scold He, but how dared he argue with Shen Qingchua? Shangguan Wenji seemed to look older at this time. He muttered, forget it, go back, let's go back. After talking, without waiting for Shangguan Qi, he walked back to the palace from the Breaking Spirit Mountain with the help of the Imperial Guards. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Shangguan Qi glared fiercely at He and turned to follow. He sneered and retrieved the bodies of the Ouyang couple. Then, she was about to say goodbye to Shen. Senator Shensen frowned. Shiyu, I'm afraid that Feng family won't give up on you. Let us escort you to Yanjing City. As soon as Shensen said this, Shen Qingchua immediately clapped and smiled happily before He said anything. Great. Great. I heard that the Xingde Hall opened by young Master Shi is lively. We will leave after we send him to Xingde Hall. He also wanted to refuse, but she saw that all the disciples of Qingxie sect showed a kind look to her. She just felt warm in her heart. She held back the refuse she was going to say. She said in a low voice, thank you. He would remember Qingxie sect's kindness to her in her heart. When He took Shen and others to the Xingde pharmacy in Yanjing City, it was already late at night. Zhou Yanan and Shi San were very pleased to see He. They all came up together to greet her. Young master, it's great that you returned safely. He nodded and said, is everything okay here? Shi San laughed immediately. Young master, please rest assured. Xingde Hall is getting more and more prosperous every day. There were indeed some people who wanted to have bad intention on us, and there were someone wanted to inquire young master's identity, but they were all punished heavily by Master Gu. Now no one dares to cause trouble at the Xingde Hall. He nodded. Guliu Fengning had operated Xingde Church and its forces for so many years, so his ability to handle things was naturally beyond doubt. Zhou Yanan saw Shi San had reported, so he stepped forward and said, young master, the Virtue Home now accommodated many orphans, and I have now completely taken over the job from Master Gu. The children are very grateful to young master. They are very diligent in cultivation and learning. Especially Shi Lang, he has now entered the qi refining stage. When talking about the children, Zhou Yanan's expression was full of gentleness and kindness. His character was a bit soft and not decisive enough, but he was kind and patient. Therefore, he was best sweet in taking care of the children. Shi San continued, I have also visited the courtyard. It has been very calm for the past 1 month. Shi Jia and others have never come out of the training area, but I have received their voice message talisman. All of them are safe, including Xiao Li. Her strength has also improved quickly. The only problem is... Speaking of which, his entire face was frowning. There were helplessness and trouble in his eyes. Young master, your master is back. Master is back? He asked in surprise, then she remembered the days when she was tortured by the sword array. Her mouth twitched. Shi San said bitterly, yeah, He has been back for several days. He said he had run out of wine, and he asked us to prepare for him. However, he smashed all the wines we offered him. He even said that our wines are stinky, he must drink the wine that young master brews. But how do we find the good wines brewed by young master? As Shi-san said, he secretly glanced at Heshi's ugly face, and he even glanced at Shin-sen and others not far away. After a while, he murmured and said, then the master got angry. He is causing trouble in the courtyard all day long. He said that young master, you don't respect the master. You didn't even prepare good wine and food for him before he dies. Heshi pressed her forehead and said in annoyance, okay, I got it. I will go back and serve the old man in a moment. I will let him drunk until he dies. Let's not talk about this, please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Heshi introduced Shin-sen and others behind her. This is Elder Shin of Qingxie sect. These are the elite disciples of Qingxie sect. Tonight, we will rest in Xingde Hall for one night. You have to make arrangements. As soon as Heshi said this, Zhou Yanan and Shi-san both opened their eyes sharply. Qing Qingxie sect. Shi-san stuttered as he said. Is that Qingxie sect I think? The one from the Tiangang kingdom. The one from the four major sects. Qingxie sect? No wonder he just felt that each person exuded a strong spirit pressure, and there was even a sense of dignity in them. Shin Qingchua was amused by Shi-san's appearance. She tilted her head and said, is there a second Qingxie sect in Miluo continent? He, young master Shi, your subordinates are really interesting. Before Heshi had time to say anything, Zhou Yanan suddenly took a step back, almost hitting the corner of the table. He tidied up his clothes in a hurry. He quickly said, I will inform the young master to let him serve the guests. Heshi pressed her forehead in a headache as she apologized to Shin-sen, I'll take you in for a rest first. Shin-sen's gentle smile didn't seem to be angry, young master she doesn't have to be so polite. We are considered as friends. Not to mention you are my lifesaver, so you can be more casual. In addition, we Qingxie sect wants to disturb you for one night in Xingde Hall because we think that we will have the opportunity to witness the best medicinal pills tomorrow. However, I heard that the best medicinal pills sold by Xingde Hall in Tiangang Kingdom are better than the medicinal pills produced by the Association of Physicians. I hope young master she won't find my words being too abrupt. Heshi shook her head quickly. She wasn't stupid to not be able to feel Qingxie sect's care for her. Now that Shin-sen was interested in the top-quality medicinal pills, she could just return a favor to them after settling Shin-sen and others. Heshi hurried to the courtyard. What she was most worried about now was the life and death of Ouyang Haoshuan, but now she was really helpless with Ouyang Haoshuan's current state, which was neither dead or alive. Since her master was in another courtyard, maybe he would have a way. As soon as she arrived at another courtyard, Heshi heard a loud voice from the old man, I don't eat. Are these all pig foods? That is so unpalatable. Quickly serve me. Buddha jumps over the wall. 1. Meat dumplings in spicy sauce, sweet and sour spare ribs. AI, people's heart is really unpredictable. Finally, I accepted a good disciple, but she became so unconscionable in the blink of an eye. Not to mention he left me for a month, he didn't even prepare good wine and food to me. AI, raising a disciple is worse than raising a dog. A grieving sigh came from the main hall of the courtyard, along with the little girl's apology in embarrassment. Heshi's mouth twitched. She pushed open the door and walked in, then she sneered, it's better to raise a dog than a disciple. Master, which dog can still be alive after being thrown in the sword array by you for 10 days? The old man, who was lying on the old-fashioned wooden armchair with his legs tilted up, immediately rolled his eyes as he heard her words. He smiled and said, good disciple, I threw you in the sword array because I believe in your strength. See, aren't you back alive now? Miss, you are back. The little maids, who had been tortured by the old man, eyes lit up in surprise. This little girl was called Mudong. She was one of the slaves that Shi-san bought from the slave market. Her talent was only 4 spiritual roots, but her advantage was that her spiritual root was pure. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Hashi had done a soul control on this group of slaves, and she let them take the improved bone muscle enhancement pill. After that, these people cultivate qi easily. Those with excellent qualifications such as Mudong had already cultivated to qi refining stage. So just like Shi Jia and the others, little maid like Mudong also extremely admired Hashi. They only felt that they had really accumulated the kindness of a few lives, so they could be bought by such a master. Besides, Mudong was the savviest among them, so Hashi let her be a personal maid. Hashi waved her hand and let Mudong go down before walking slowly to the old man. The old man took down his feet the table, and he looked at her like he was confronting a formidable enemy. He murmured in his mouth, "Good disciple, don't be angry. When I put you in the sword array that day, I went to drink alcohol. Hayes, your alcohol is really too tasty, so I was drinking more and more. When I woke up, 10 days had passed. Fortunately, my good disciple, you are powerful. You broke out of the sword array. AI, you are really the disciple I chose. Your talents are really the best." Hashi narrowed her eyes and watched him chattering. The old man's voice was getting smaller and smaller. He murmured, "Well, I admit that I was wrong. I shouldn't leave you alone in the sword array, but I really need some good food now. You disappeared for a month, and I didn't have good liquor and food." My good disciple." Before the old man finished speaking, Hashi turned her wrist and a large bottle of liquor was placed in front of the old man. "Oh, good liquor." The old man pounced onto the liquor jar and opened the lid. The thick and rich liquor's scent spread out. The old man felt so excited by the scent. He couldn't wait to swallow the whole jar of liquor together with the jar. Hashi took out a few more dishes, and the aroma of the food spurred the gluttonous insects in the belly of the old man, making his stomach rumbled. The old man couldn't care about anything else as he devoured food. After eating and drinking, he wiped his face with greasy hands and chuckled with laughter. My good disciple, why are you so kind today? You didn't blame me, and you even took out so many good liquor and food. Do you have some request from me?" Hashi didn't hide it either. She used divine sense to investigate the surrounding. After confirming that no one was nearby, she cast a sound insulation enchantment. Under the surprised gaze of the old man, Hashi took out a storage ring from the space, then he carefully moved Ouyang Haoshuan's corpse out of the storage ring. Ha! The old man's face changed almost at the moment when he saw Ouyang Haoshuan's corpse. He appeared next to Ouyang Haoshuan in a flash and crouched down. He said unbelievably, "Am I hallucinating? Why do I seem to feel the breath of that thing?" As the old man said, he reached out and touched Ouyang Haoshuan's body that was almost burnt into coke. When his hand touched the dantian, his expression suddenly became shocked and dignified. He exclaimed, "How is it possible?" Hashi quickly stepped forward and said with a soft voice, "Master, what's wrong? Can he still be saved?" The old man's expression looked uncertain. After a while, he looked at Hashi. His eyes looked strange. "My disciple, you ask can he still be saved? Don't you know that he is now a dead body? Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Hashi frowned. I know that his breathing and heartbeat have stopped, but I feel that there is a powerful force in his dantian, maintaining the operation of his meridians and spiritual power. It's just that I don't know how to save him. Is it that even Master don't know about it? The old man frowned. He asked after a while, "My good disciple, do you know what is the power that can support the operation of spiritual power in a corpse?" She shook her head. The old man pouted. He looked at the charred corpse on the ground and murmured, "I don't know whether this kid is having good luck or bad luck. A fire element spirit pearl is actually sealed inside his body." Fire element spirit pearl? Fire element spirit pearl is a kind of 5 elements spirit pearl. It belongs to the condensed power source of the 5 elements. If the person who gets the 5 elements spirit pearl can use this power properly, he can almost get the power that can bring disaster. Seeing Heshi's face looked doubt and surprised, the old man scratched his hair. "Good disciple, let me tell you this. At Miluo continent, the sealed dragon sword in the sealed dragon domain's secret territory make all martial artists crazy for it, right?" Heshi nodded. The old man continued, "However, compared to 5 elements spirit pearl, the treasure in the sealed dragon domain's secret territory is like the casual flying sword. Even if it is the Miluo continent, the peerless sealed dragon sword can't beat a 5 elements spirit pearl at all. Nevermind is the major sex of the Miluo continent. Even I have the thought of snatching it myself when I realize that this is a fire element spirit pearl." This time, Heshi was really shocked. She slightly widened her eyes and looked at Ouyang Haoshuan on the ground. After a while, she said, "So the Feng family killed the General Ouyang's family just to get fire element spirit pearl?" The old man's eyes showed a bit of pity in his eyes at this time. He slowly shook his head, "I'm afraid it's not just about killing. 5 elements spirit pearl is sealed in the body of a martial artist. Even if the body and dantian of the martial artist is cut into pieces, you may not find 5 elements spirit pearl. The only way to make 5 elements spirit pearl condense is that the carrier experiences a huge mind stimulation, then the carrier will burst out a powerful strength to condense the 5 elements spirit pearl. Of course, because of the destruction power of 5 elements spirit pearl, the martial artist as a carrier will inevitably be swallowed by the power of the spirit pearl and become a corpse." Heshi's eyebrows twitched. She whispered, "Then do you mean, there is no way to save Ouyang Haoshuan?" "That's not really true." The old man shook his head. He looked Ouyang Haoshuan with a complicated gaze, "So I just said, I don't know if this boy is lucky or not. I have been living for thousands of years, I admit that I have seen any kind of people. However, this boy has absolute perseverance. Even I'm impressed by him." At the moment when fire element spirit pearl condensed, he directly exploded his gold core. After the gold core shattered, it merged into the fire element spirit pearl, letting him to burst out a might strength. His body obviously couldn't stand the terrifying power of the fire element spirit pearl. But because his gold core was merged into the fire element spirit pearl, which made the fire element spirit pearl contaminated by his breath. The fire element spirit pearl replaces his gold core to support the operation of his spiritual power, so this is why he looks like a living dead. Heshi said hurriedly, "Can he still be saved? Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/the King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free." The old man was silent for a moment, and his eyes flashed for a while. After a long time, he nodded. The only way to save this kid now is to completely replace his dantian and heart with fire element spirit pearl. Let fire element spirit pearl support his life and repair his body. He will still live like ordinary people in the future. He will have body temperature and breathing, but since then the heart and dantian are no longer his weakness. Of course, his strength will also be several times stronger than that of martial artists of the same level. It's just, Heshi who had just relieved became anxious again. Just what? The old man glanced at his disciple's delicate and handsome, which was hard to differentiate its gender, then he laughed, "But if the fire element spirit pearl merges with this kid's, the spirit pearl will melt and disperse in his body again. Before this kid dies, the fire element spirit pearl will never appear again. If you want to get the fire element spirit pearl back in the future, it will be impossible." On the contrary, if you take the fire element spirit pearl out of his dantian now, he is still a dead body. Moreover, fire element spirit pearl is even in its best condensation state. With the fire element spirit pearl, your strength can be improved several times immediately. Good disciple, are you sure you want to use this spirit pearl to save him? He didn't even think about it and replied without hesitation, is there anything to be sure? This spirit pearl is originally his, and his parents died horribly for this spirit pearl. I promised his father to save his life. The old man clicked his tongue and said, Good disciple, isn't this kid your lover? To save him, you don't even want the fire element spirit pearl? Do you understand how precious and powerful 5 elements spirit pearl is? Even I'm not willing. Are you not afraid that after you save this kid, he will have a fallout with you? Won't you suffer a big loss when you can't even win him anymore? What nonsense are you talking about? She rolled her eyes on him and said angrily, I'm a doctor. Since I promised the patient's family to save people, and I have the ability to save them, how can they turn their backs? As for 5 elements spirit pearl, there are more good things all over the world now, do they all have to belong to me? Additionally, Heshi's face flushed for a moment. She looked away and murmured, I already have someone in mind. Don't mention things like lover anymore in the future. The old man looked at her in a daze for a while. He seemed to be shocked by her words, he seemed to be stunned by her rare blush. After a long time, he suddenly bent over his body and laughed. Heshi was ashamed into anger being laughed by him, shouting, Old man, in a word, save or not save? If you don't save, I will ask the other for help. Save, of course I save. The old man's eyebrows were still smiling, and his eyes looking at her were softer and more amiable than before. My good disciple, you really deserve to be my disciple. Since you want this kid to survive, then I will try my best to save him. However, I can't do it here. You can take him with us. We will go to the desert area of the sealed dragon domain. Otherwise, I'm afraid that the movement will be too big, and it will attract other people peeking us. Heshi did not hesitate. She quickly brought Ouyang Haoshuan and the old man into the desert of the sealed dragon domain. The temperature in the northwestern corner of the desert had reached a horrible 60 degrees Celsius. Even magical beasts rarely appeared here. Heshi cast water spiritual power to protect herself, only then she felt better under the heat wave. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. The old man seemed to be not affected by the high temperature. He gestured Heshi to put the body of Ouyang Haoshuan on the sand and muttered in his mouth, Good disciple, I haven't really used my true spirit for hundreds of years. When this kid wakes up, you have to prepare to a Manchu Han imperial feast, to treat me. Oh, yes, don't let that little pink pig fight with me for food. All the dishes and liquors are for me. Heshi couldn't refrain herself from laughing, but she still nodded and said, Thank you, master. The old man was satisfied. He sat cross-legged next to Ouyang Haoshuan and slowly closed his eyes. On the side, Heshi was shocked to find that the moment the old man closed his eyes, his vibe changed. The enormous powerful spiritual power flowed from his body and wrapped Ouyang Haoshuan's body. Almost at the moment when he touched the old man's spiritual power, Ouyang Haoshuan's dantian lit a golden red light. The old man opened his eyes abruptly, and his thin hands quickly formed a complicated symbol, hitting Ouyang Haoshuan's dantian. The golden red light at Ouyang Haoshuan's dantian was beating continuously, colliding with the old man's spiritual power. It seemed to want to break free from it. Heshi could vaguely see that it was a round blood-red pearl in the size of a fingernail. As the blood-red peel kept beating, the already scorching desert became hotter. Heshi looked at the old man nervously, and he saw crystal sweat beads oozing from his head. His face was extremely unsightly too. There was a shock in Heshi's heart. Although she didn't fully understand the strength of her cheap master, she could be 100% sure that he had already surpassed the existence of the top powerful individual of the Miluo continent, or it should be said that he should belong to this realm. But now, Master is actually at a disadvantage fighting against the Fire Element Spirit Pearl. How powerful is this Fire Element Spirit Pearl? As the old man's spiritual power fighting against the Fire Element Spirit Pearl, Ouyang Haoshuan's body also began to show visible changes. The bright red light flowed through the meridians in his body. Wherever it went, the burnt black charcoal-like skin slowly recovered its flexibility and smoothness. And his pulse and dantian, that didn't have any movement initially, began to pulsate. Ouyang Haoshuan's face, which originally looked dead, was slowly becoming red, and his brows gradually twisted together, showing a painful expression. The struggle between the red pearl and the old man continued. The old man was sweating more, and his face looked even more unsightly. The light of the red peel was getting thinner and thinner as if it would vaporize and disappear at any time. But at this moment, Ouyang Haoshuan struggled violently. There was a wild roar in his mouth. Indistinctly, Heshi could hear Ouyang Haoshuan's broken and hoarse voice, "Mother, father. Foam family, die." Because of Ouyang Haoshuan's struggle and the turbulent hatred in his body, the red pearl that originally looked dull actually slowly had a layer of dark and subtle black gas. The old man's expression became more and more pale and unsightly. The spiritual power that originally wrapped Ouyang Haoshuan also shook for a while as if it was entangled by the dark breath. At this time, Heshi felt like she was standing at the junction of cold and heat. For a while, she felt the cold that penetrated into her bone marrow, then for a while, she suddenly felt a heat that could melt her flesh. 1. https://en. Wikipedia. org/wiki/Manchu_Han_Imperial_Feast. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. Even if she didn't know anything about Five Elements Spirit Pearl, she felt something was wrong now. Both Ouyang Haoshuan and Master were now on the verge of life and death. One careless mistake, not only Ouyang Haoshuan couldn't be resurrected, even her master was likely to be implicated. Am I going to watch the worst result happen? No way. Never. Heshi's eyes were cold as she clenched her teeth. She suddenly walked to Ouyang Haoshuan's side and squatted down. The pale golden fire spiritual power condensed in her palm, and then she slowly transferred into Ouyang Haoshuan's body. The spiritual power flows through every inch of his meridians, then it gathered to Ouyang Haoshuan's dantian. After that, it flowed into his brain, comforting her tense nerves and emotions. With the input of this pale golden spiritual power, magical things happened. Ouyang Haoshuan's wild and mad look slowly became calm under the comfort of this spiritual power. There was even a childish smile appearing between his eyes. The black shadow that originally eroded the spiritual power and fire element spirit pearl of the old man also gradually dissipated under the erosion of Heshi's spiritual power. Finally, it disappeared without a trace. Finally, the spiritual power in the Heshi body was completely exhausted. She staggered and sat down on the sand. She took out a few spirit healing pills, then drank a few mouthfuls of water. Only then she felt better. The fire element spirit pearl in Ouyang Haoshuan's gold core had been slowly melted under the influence of the old man's spiritual power. It finally completely merged with the flesh and blood of Ouyang Haoshuan, disappearing without a trace. At this time, Ouyang Haoshuan's original coke-like body had completely recovered into smooth skin, but on these slightly pale skin, layers of redness appeared. Every inch of his skin was as if burned by flames, his whole body was red in color. Painful moans and wailing came out from Ouyang Haoshuan's mouth. It seemed that he suffered from a heartbreaking pain. He started rolling on the ground non-stop. The clothes he had worn on him were burned to ashes in an instant. His naked body was completely exposed in the air. On his body surface, a seemingly invisible golden-red flame seemed to be burning. The flame was horribly powerful. Except for the special sand in the desert, other things like stone and animal skeleton would be burned into ashes instantly. It was obvious that Ouyang Haoshuan had suffered a lot of pain under such a high temperature. The old man slowly opened his eyes at this time. He wiped the sweat on his forehead and said with a tired face, "Okay, the rest is on his own. As long as he can survive the last step of the fire element torment, he can really absorb the power of fire element's spirit pearl." After waking up, although his strength is still only gold core stage, his future advancement speed will be very fast. He didn't go to see Ouyang Haoshuan. Instead, she helped the seemingly weak old man and poured him a cup of ninth secluded spirit spring water. The old man took a sip of the ninth secluded spirit spring water, and his eyes were surprised. He looked at He with widened eyes, then he sneered, "No wonder my good disciple never covets against others' treasure. It seems that my disciple also has a lot of treasures." After finished speaking, he didn't ask too much and bottomed up the spring water. As the spirit spring water spread in his body, the old man's face suddenly looked better. He recovered his usual dandiacal and smiling appearance. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell's Genius Pampered Wife/ to read the latest chapters for free. AI, my good disciple, you don't know that I suffer a big loss to save him. 90% of my fundamental essence was consumed. I need half a month or more to recover. This loss is immeasurable. You must use countless good liquor to compensate me. He nodded with a smile. She really couldn't deal with her kidult master. The old man looked at Ouyang Haoshuan, but his eyes flickered a deep light. "My good disciple, this brat has experienced too much darkness. Now his soul is contaminated by the bloodthirsty evil breath. Just now I was almost devoured by his evil breath as I was caught off guard. Luckily, you cast away the evil breath with your pure spirit fire, so we escaped from this disaster. However, you still have to be careful about this person. If one day the dark side of his mind is out of control, he may hurt you. My good disciple, I think you should stay far away from this brat." He smiled. There was no fluctuation in her expression. She just said lightly, "If I had the experience like him, I might become darker and bloodthirstier than him. What's more, as compared to escape due to the fear of the unknown danger, I am more willing to choose to power up my strength so that no one can hurt me." The old man for a moment, then he laughed a few times and hurriedly left while caressing his beard. He still has a few good liquor given by me, but he used most of his fundamental essence just now. Even his doppelganger almost collapsed. He had lost so much. No way, he must drink more of my good liquor, to replenish it. He stayed there, watching Ouyang Haoshuan kept rolling on the sand. He kept making painful growl. The scorching heat wave caused the temperature of the desert to rise rapidly. Even if He had been condensing water spiritual power to resist it, her hair and clothes were gradually wet by sweat. Ah! Ouyang Haoshuan could no longer bear the burning pain that was everywhere on his body. He suddenly extended his hand and wanted to pierce into his dantian without hesitation. Something in his mind seemed to be breaking down, telling him that it was so painful to live. He had lost everything. He didn't have any meaning to continue living. Rather than living so desperately and painfully, he might as well die. As his hand was in the mid-air, a cold and soft hand caught his hand with a determined power. A cold and transparent voice sounded in his ears with a mocking and contemptuous tone, "Ouyang Haoshuan, are you such a weakling? Your parents were killed by Feng family, your home was destroyed by Feng Yunjing, your father still worried about your safety before dying, begging me to save you and let you live well. Your vengeance hasn't ended yet, you parents are buried yet, but you just want to seek death. Ouyang Haoshuan, can you live up to your parents' dying wish and the enmities you carried? Yang Haoshuan opened his eyes with difficulty, and he faintly saw a beautiful face. His eyes were picturesque, his face looked handsome, his wet hair drooped down on his snow-white forehead, making this young man look frail and delicate. It was Heshi in the eyes of Yang Haoshuan. But the pair of bright and beautiful eyes were so cold and so decisive. With a sarcastic arc, her eyes seemed to mock his cowardice and his incompetence. No. I didn't want to be ridiculed by these eyes, let alone being looked down upon by this person. I want to live. Even if I lose all hope, even if I have nothing, at least I can stay with this person. Please go to https://www. Novel updates. cc/The King of Hell is Genius Pampered Wife / to read the latest chapters for free. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.